23-year-old information operator Aisha Austin is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old public safety equipment installer Marcus Wynn, for vandalism and for stealing her property.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 413 on the calendar, the matter of Austin versus Wynn.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Miss Austin, the defendant is your former boyfriend, according to the complaint that I've read, and you lived together for a period of time. Is that right?
That's correct.
According to you, you had an argument with him. During that argument, he assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
Later, he went out and vandalized your car, destroyed your property that was inside your house, then came back into your house at a later date, broke into your house, destroyed some more property. Mr. Wynn says that he never assaulted you. As a matter of fact, you assaulted him, that you destroyed your own property, vandalized your own car because you had a hissy fit, and he doesn't owe you a dime. Is that right, sir?
Just about right.
I didn't ask you anything yet.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Austin, how long did you live together?
We lived together for about 8 months.
Did he move into your house, or did you move into his, or did you take a place together?
Well, the lease was in my name, but he moved in with me at the same time as I moved in.
When did you have this argument?
The argument started November 26th on our way home from work.
Okay, well, what happened on the 26th of November?
We were on our way home from picking up the kids from school, and we were talking, and we
Well, were you on the way home from work or school?
Well, we was on our way home from work, but on the way home from work, we pick up the children from daycare and from my sister's house.
Whose children?
My children, my 2 sons.
Were they in the car when you had this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
4 and 7.
What was the argument about?
Well, we were having a discussion, and Mr. Wynn stated that I looked old. From that discussion, it
Well, what did
became
he
an argument.
say? I want to hear what he said.
Well, he said that when he met me that I looked old. He was attracted to older women. When he met me, that was one of his attractions because I looked old at the time that he met me.
That's not true. That's not how it actually went.
Okay, and
Okay.
go ahead, sir. And you said?
From that, I got offended, and we started having an argument about that.
Well, tell me what you said to him.
Well, I told him that, well, at first I didn't say anything, and then I told him that I didn't know that he thought that I looked old, and I did take offense to him saying that.
You weren't speaking the same way you're speaking to me now.
No, ma'am.
You were screaming at each other.
Not at that point, we weren't screaming at each other. We didn't, the screaming didn't actually start until we got to our home.
And what was the screaming about?
Well, this argument progressed on, so we started discussing other things like financial, him not being able to support our home financially and different things like that. And Mr. Wynn then left the house in my vehicle, and when he left, he stayed gone like 2 hours. When he returned, he laid his keys on the table and went to the bathroom. When he laid his keys on the table, I went to get my car key off of his key ring. He then came out of the bathroom, and it advanced into a struggle. He tried to take the keys away from me, and I wouldn't give him the keys. So at that time, he then punched me in the stomach and then the back of the head, and I fell on the floor. Okay. At that time, he punched me in the stomach and the back of the head, and I fell on the floor.
Where were your children?
They were in their bedrooms asleep.
But then they woke up.
Right. My younger son woke up. At that time, when he punched me in the stomach and the back of the head, I tried to call the police, so I reached for the phone. At the time, Mr. Wynn grabbed the phone and ripped the phone lines out of the wall. I got up and tried to go into the kitchen and use the phone as well. He ripped that one and the phone in the children's room out of the wall as well.
Let me see the police report. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Wynn then left out of the door and went outside and started to remove items from my vehicle that he had placed on there.
Like what?
Like lights. He puts neon lights on the vehicle and different things like that. And I went out the back door and ran down the street to the payphone to call 911. When I returned, Mr. Wynn was already gone with both sets of keys to our house and my car, and had locked my sons inside of my apartment.
So what did you do?
The police came. When the police came, they helped me beat on the door, and my 7-year-old son woke up and came and opened the door for us to get in.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see. Okay, go ahead.
about 3 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Wynn returned to our residence. He came in and he went to my children's room because that's where he kept a basket with some of his clothing in it. So when I went in the room, I told him he was not going to take the car again. At that time, he informed me that his mother was outside of our home waiting for him. So I told him, since it was 3 o'clock in the morning and want to wake the children, I would help him move his things out. So I started taking things out to his mother's car. She had her trunk open of her car, and I started putting things in there. At that time, Mr. Wynn went into my apartment and started throwing things out of the apartment, like my dolphin. I collect dolphin figurines. He threw them out. The children had 2 small betta fish, and they had 2 little separate tanks. He threw those out the front door and killed both of the fish. He took my hammer, and burst my 10-gallon fish tank. I had an Oscar fish in it. He took a hammer and burst the fish tank, ruined the carpet in the living room, and glass was everywhere. And so I took and ran up the hill and back down to the corner and used the payphone again to call 911.
You have another police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
This police report is of another incident. That one, the first one that you have, states that they came back a second time.
This is from another incident?
Yes.
When was this?
I left town on that same day and went to my hometown. Stayed gone for about 3 days. When I returned, Mr. Wynn had broken into my apartment because I had the locks changed before I left and ruined several things, taken several things, jewelry, different things like that from my apartment while I was out of town. He had poured pills in my sink in my bathroom, broken glass in my bathtub.
Now I'll hear you, Mr. Wynn.
Actually, I'm gonna start from the beginning, just like she did. The ride home, we was having a mutual conversation. She basically said, "You thought I was some young girl, this and that and that and this." I said, "No, I thought you were older." Then she said, "What does that mean?" I said, "You could take it or leave it how you want it." She kind of got offended by it or whatever. Basically said nothing the rest of the ride home. When we get to the house,
I'd like you to look at me when you're speaking.
When we get to the house, she basically brings up the incident again. So you think, she said.
Look at me, right here.
She said, trying to breathe. She said that you offended me.
Don't breathe. Just
she said,
go
"You offended
slowly.
me when you called me old." I said, "I did not call you old." And she was like, "Well, you need to apologize." I said, "I'm not apologizing because I did not call you old." She basically told me I would be sorry, so I got offended by that. You know what I'm saying? Took a shower, and I planned on going to sleep after that. She came yanking covers off of me, telling me that I need to get up, do this, do that. And I told her, I said, "I'm not finna talk to you to be arguing with you, so I'm finna go."
So, just a second. So you told her you were leaving,
Yes,
and you left.
I left.
And how did you go?
I left as, like any normal, I wasn't mad.
No.
I mean,
Did you leave in her car?
it was, at that time, what's mine is yours and yours is mine. That's how we had it.
What did you have?
That's-
Shh, listen to me.
I'm sorry.
What did you have?
At that time,
Did you have an apartment?
no,
Did you have a car?
no.
So what did you bring to the table?
I brought whatever, at that time I provided.
That's a
I
reasonable
provided.
question. Why are you looking like that? It's a reasonable question.
Right.
What did you bring to the table? What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine, is what you're saying.
Right. And, it's basically...
that's what I thought you were saying.
Whenever we needed anything in the apartment or anything like that, I would either get it or she would get it or we'd go together and
All
get
I
it.
asked you was, what was it that you brought? She had the home, she had the car. What did you
Right.
bring?
I went half with her on the deposit, half with her on the rent, and whatever other bills we did. So
Okay.
that's how it basically
That's
was.
reasonable.
It's like we went half and half on everything.
So you left in her car.
Right.
And what happened when you came back?
When I found out she wasn't asleep, I seen she was trying to take keys off the key ring, which to the car, and also at the time I thought the apartment too. And I tried to take the keys from her. You see what I'm saying? And at that time she punched me.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him.
She punched me 2 times, and I reacted in punching her.
We're going to go through this carefully.
Okay.
She's taking the keys off the ring.
Right.
You come into the room.
Right.
You go over to her.
Okay. The way she had the keys,
In her hand.
my key ring has a little long thingy on it. I reached out and grabbed it. I basically put them on the couch, in the back of the couch, turned my back towards her. At that time, that's when I was punched, and when I was punched, I turned around and punched her.
Show me how you were punched.
She punched me like, it was 2 hits, and it was more like a, you know what I'm saying? It was 2 hits, just that quick, and just as quick as she hit me, I hit her back.
Mm-hmm. Now what happened next, sir?
I really vaguely don't remember how we ended up outside. But when I ended up outside, she told me to get all my stuff out the car, you know, all the stuff that I put on the car, take it off. She jumps in the car, I jumps in the car. She yanking lights off and everything on the inside of the car because I had the neons on the inside of the car. I said, just let me take them off. When I get my tools out the trunk of the car, she's telling me she's going to call the police or whatever.
So you're telling me she's vandalizing her own car?
At that time, yes.
I don't think I believe that.
That's not true.
I don't think I believe that. I may believe some of the things that you tell me, but I don't believe that she's vandalizing her own car, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
That's a lie, Your Honor. She came and got all her stuff. Her sister even took her.
If you say one more thing to me without my looking at you, then I'm going to grant a petition. Do you understand?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Austin claims ex-boyfriend Marcus Wynn destroyed her belongings out of rage. Marcus says the rage was mutual.
I want to know what you did with her son's fish. Look at my eyes.
Okay. I went in the house and I went inside the room to gather some clothes because I wasn't planning on staying for the rest of that week.
The fish.
Right. I'm getting to that part.
Get there.
Okay. When she noticed I was trying to leave, she started grabbing my dishes and, like she said, throwing them in the back of my mom's car and was breaking them at the same time. I kind of got agitated and I started throwing her stuff out. She started throwing stuff of mine out. I started just picking up stuff and going crazy myself. I took the fish, threw them around, went across the fish tank with a hammer. And that's just plain and simple.
Got there. Then there came a time when you came back to the house.
Correct.
But she had changed the locks.
Right.
The lease wasn't in your name.
Right.
So you broke into the house.
Right.
You can't do that, Mr. Wynn. Now, I'm not saying that Miss Austin didn't lose her temper. Miss Austin.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe you probably lost your temper a little bit. That be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Ones I feel most sorry for are those two little children who are in the house, seeing the two adults that they supposedly look up to acting like a bunch of school children, fighting with each other, screaming, yelling, killing their pets. You should both feel terrible about that.
I do.
What? No, you didn't. If you did, then you
Not
would...
at that time I didn't, but, you know, once I sat down and thought about it, I did.
Can I see an estimate on the car, please?
I don't have the estimate.
Well, how am I supposed to determine how much it'll cost to fix the car?
Well, when I went to get the estimate done, the shop was already closed, the service department, so I wasn't able to get the estimate done.
So what does he owe you money for?
The
Fish, for sure.
He took a lot of things from my apartment. I have that on the paper as well. He has not returned anything that he's taken.
Like what?
Jewelry, different.
What kind of jewelry?
I have a herringbone chain, a rope chain.
Did you take any jewelry from her house?
Yes.
Oh, it's not an answer.
Yes, I did.
Where is it?
Where is it? It's at my mom's house as of now.
All the jewelry is to be returned to her within 5 days.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm awarding you $250, which you're going to use to go out and refurbish a fish tank for the children. Yourself, get the children. You should write them a note of apology.
Well, I kind of planned on talking to them face to face and letting them know how much of, you know, apology I would like to give them.
5 days. I'll prepare an order. All the jewelry goes back to her. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just feel like it got out of control that night, and it's something that shouldn't have happened at all.
Man, you'd thought we was at WWF wrestling.
The best way to handle it is just to have left it alone in the beginning.
It was just like a mad man and a mad woman going at each other.
I'd like to get my life back on track.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bryce versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Twyla Bryce is suing her ex-roommate, mortgage processor Luann Cooper, for the return of property, unpaid rent, and assault, and for filing false charges with police.
Miss Bryce, tell me very, very quickly. You think that the defendant owes you some money. You were her roommate. You claim she had you evicted, kept some of your property. You want her to reimburse you for a whole bunch of things, a TV that she kept, some pain and suffering because she had you falsely arrested, a whole bunch of other stuff. She says she has none of your stuff. Right?
No, that's not correct. She did not get arrested.
Just a
I don't have
second.
any of her stuff.
You say you have none of her stuff.
None of her stuff.
Perfect.
She came
Good.
with all her stuff.
Shh. So, I have other things to do.
Hi, how you doing? First of all, it's an honor to meet you. You have to bear with me.
Just tell me.
I just got over a cold. So
Tell me what she owes you money for.
back rent. When I first moved in with Cooper, we was going half and half We were supposed to become roommates, 510 apiece. When I moved in with her, she did not tell me till the last minute that she had got fired from her job, and she didn't have a $300 towards the rent.
So she owes you $200 towards rent?
$210.
Your
Okay,
Honor,
did
Your
she-
Honor.
just a second, let me deal with this. And what month was that in?
This was in July when I moved in with her.
Okay. Did you ever take $200 from her for rent?
Yes, I did, Your Honor, and I paid her back.
Okay,
As soon as I got a job, like a week later, I got a job and I paid her back. Cause see, she didn't actually she didn't have the money. She borrowed it from her sister.
Okay,
and I
so
had to
you
pay her
gave her
sister
back.
back. I didn't pay her. I paid her sister back.
You paid her sister?
Yeah, because it was her money.
Perfect. You have your sister here? Did she give you back the money?
She gave me back $200
Good.
not for
Perfect.
July.
Perfect. Good. She gave you back $200. What's next, Miss Price?
Okay. In August, Luann Cooper was fired again from another job. I had to put the whole rent, which was
That's a lie. That's a lie, Your Honor.
$1,085.
That's a lie. I did not get fired from my job,
we
and
get-
she left in August.
Just a second.
October, excuse me.
Could we get to what
mean,
we're talking? Would you be quiet, please? Because I'm not spending more than another 5 minutes on this case.
Excuse
Thank you,
me.
Your Honor.
Listen! Your complaint talks about you getting evicted from the house, a false restraining order. You and your daughter were forced to leave the house, and that she kept your television, she kept a telephone, and a blanket belonging to your daughter.
And a pillow.
Doesn't say anything about a pillow here.
That's a lie, Your Honor. She came and got all her stuff. Her sister even took
If you
her.
say one more thing
Brought
to
her to
me
my house.
without my looking at you, then I'm going to grant her petition. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Say nothing until I look at your direction and ask you a question. We understand each other? Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, tell me about the 4th of September when she had you evicted.
Okay, we had gave a party for me and her birthday. My birthday was on the 1st, hers was on the 2nd of September. Miss Cooper had been up previously almost a week.
That's a lie. That's a lie. We started partying on your birthday. So it was what, the 2nd? When
Ms. Cooper, you didn't pay attention. Do you understand? If a court makes a statement, and if then I go back on it, everybody thinks the court system doesn't mean what it says. Now, did I tell you fairly, give you fair notice, that if you interrupt again, I'm going to grant her claim whether it is legitimate or not. Did I say that to you?
Yeah, you did.
And did you say I understood it?
Yeah.
And did you do it again? Did you do it
Your
again?
Honor, it's just that she's lying, and I just can't let
Judgment
her
for
lie.
the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus.
Wife, shipping operator Tracy Ashby, for the cost of a plane ticket purchased for her daughter.
Order. All rise. This is case number 530 on the calendar in the matter of Bashaw versus Ashby. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Bashaw, is this your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant used to be married to your husband, and they have a child together, a girl. How old is she?
She's 8 years old.
This is the problem. You have custody of your daughter,
Joint custody.
but they were going on vacation, and they asked if, while the child was in your custody, if they could take her on vacation. You said yes.
Yes.
And they bought a plane ticket for her.
Yes.
And then, according to the plaintiff, you decided not to let her go because you were concerned about her safety. And Ms. Bashaw wants the money for the plane ticket because she says it was non-refundable ticket and you really had no basis to withhold your consent. What's the child's name?
Bristol.
Where does she live?
With both of us. I work shift work, and sometimes I have to go to work in the middle of the night. So those weeks, so it doesn't interrupt her school, I allow her to stay with him. And then the other weeks that I don't work those shifts, she stays with me.
Great. And it's been working for how long?
For 3 years.
That's great. You to be congratulated, everybody. You have other children?
No, I don't.
Do you?
No, ma'am.
You?
Yes.
How many other children do you have?
I got 3 girls
Where are they?
with their moms.
Okay. Where were you planning on going on vacation?
Shreveport, Louisiana,
When?
July 4th of 2002.
You bought the plane ticket.
Yes, I bought mine in February. I bought hers in April.
Who else was going?
My husband was driving. in the original plan was for the daughter to go with her father. And her mother requested that she fly with me.
Why did you want her to fly?
I didn't request that she fly. Her father came to me and said, with my daughter, that she would be interested in flying with her. I said that would be okay.
You afraid to fly?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever flown?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here. You have flown, but you don't like to fly.
Yes, ma'am.
What changed your mind?
What changed my mind was she sent me a letter approximately 8 days before. She said, by the way, we will be leaving early 4th of July morning. That was the first time I had been told that they were leaving on the 4th of July. And that made me just very nervous. And that's when
because of the air travel.
Exactly.
On July 4th.
Prior to that, my daughter to this day, is afraid to fly.
When did you think that they were leaving?
I had just assumed that they were flying out like on a Sunday and coming back on the following Sunday.
Did you tell her that immediately?
Yes, I did.
What did you say?
I called her and told her on the phone that I didn't feel comfortable with my daughter flying on the 4th of July with all the terrorist threats. It was on the news, and she's my only child. I just didn't want her to fly on that day.
So?
Out of respect to the mother, I granted her wishes, but she also told me on the same phone call that she would pay me back whatever it cost.
Did you tell her that?
I probably said whatever. I said, it doesn't matter to me. I can't even remember exactly what all was said because I was so upset about it.
Did you want your daughter to fly on July 4th?
Yeah. I mean, they say you're safer in the air than you are in a vehicle, and I know the way I drive, and they know the way I drive.
We're not talking about usually, sir. We're talking about the fact that on that particular July 4th,
I didn't have a problem.
The government gave you...
No, I'm not going to live...
You're not paying attention to me. You're talking. Is there something wrong with you?
Asking you, trying to answer your question.
You're not listening. You're not receiving. I want you to first receive, then you can process the information that I'm giving you in the question, and then give me an informed answer. We're not talking about ordinary times. We're talking about a heightened time of alert when there were alerts of certain potential terrorist threats surrounding the airline industry for that period of time. Do you remember reading the newspaper then, sir?
Yeah.
Do you remember watching the news?
Mm-hmm.
Did it give you any cause to be concerned about flying on July 4th?
Not really, no. I mean...
But you weren't flying.
Well, I was... my daughter...
But you weren't
concerned
flying.
for my daughter. I mean, I'm always concerned for my daughter. But no, I wasn't flying. I don't fly, whether it's on July 4th or whenever.
Well, you have flown, according to you.
That's what made up my mind not to fly no more.
Well... Why, did you crash?
No, it just scared the hell out of me. Heck out of me, excuse me.
What were you afraid would happen?
Crash.
Do you think that if the government told you that it was more likely that something bad would happen on a particular day, you might even be more frightened?
Personally, yes, probably.
Good. And you think that if...
I'm not one to try to put a bunch of fear into my daughter's head and stuff and scare her to death about something that's going to stick with her forever.
Oh.
You know?
You have no children?
No, ma'am.
You have one child?
Yes, ma'am.
He has 3. Somebody's not watching out for us.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I attribute half of this ticket to him.
I already agreed to that.
Oh, perfect. You see? You're getting smarter by the minute.
And later today...
Gave your daughter an eviction notice. Daughter and her 2 children.
That's because I didn't want David to move back in. I don't like him. Her daughters don't like him. I don't like his police record.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Bashaw says her husband's ex-wife, Tracy Ashby, owes for the cost of her daughter's plane ticket. Tracy says the ticket was for the 4th of July, and she didn't think it was safe.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Even though Mr. Bashaw doesn't seem to get it, he should. I can't help it, you know. I'm not responsible for what went in to make him what he is as a parent, as a person. But it would seem to me that if your wife purchased the ticket, before I would let my wife sue my ex-wife in a situation, sir, where everybody seems to be getting along for the benefit of this child. I would say to my wife, I don't want you to be out any money. Honey, I'll give the cost of the ticket to you, because it's true, I can understand why she might be stressed to let the baby fly on July 4th. She's afraid, just like I'm afraid. So I'll give you the money for the ticket. That's what a normal person might do under the circumstances. So the ticket was $235, is that right?
That's the remainder, Your Honor.
What do you mean the remainder?
Tracy gave me $60 in my home, and my husband
Just a second, what was the full amount of the ticket?
$330.
$330.
And 50 cents.
$330 divided by 2 equals $165. And she's already given you
60.
60.
And then she said she paid $70 for baseball tickets of the little girls' baseball team.
The pictures.
And she wanted half of $70. So I told her I would deduct $35 from the ticket, and the remainder was $235.50.
Not my remainder. Let me tell you how I figure it. I figure it that both parents should pay equally. So I attribute half of this ticket to him.
I already agreed to that.
Oh, perfect. You see? You're getting smarter by the minute. So half of that is $165. She already gave you 60, leaving a balance of 105. You got the pictures, the baseball team pictures, or you agreed that between the two of you that they would pay for half and you would pay for half. That's 35. That leaves $70. So that's what you owe her. Okay. For the ticket. $70. Easy.
Thank you.
Sounds to me as if you've worked out a lovely working arrangement. If you can continue to do it, terrific. You know, you ought to be saluted. Don't let any stupid things like this interfere.
Thank you, Your
Good
Honor.
luck.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's got a problem with me, obviously.
Her response was, oh, well.
She's left me nasty messages on my machine, and I don't understand why.
I want it over with. I want it to end.
They have problems, too.
Now that this is over with, I hope we can get along.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Brown, step forward, please.
64-year-old factory worker Darlene Martin is suing her daughter, accountant Judy Brown, for unpaid rent, car registration, and the cost of parking tickets. Julie is countersuing for improvements she made to her mother's home.
Mrs. Martin, Miss Brown is your daughter.
Yes.
And it is your claim that she owes you for some rent on a house. Is it a house or an apartment?
It's a duplex.
That you were renting to her family, and a small bill that you say that you advanced her money for. She says that she doesn't owe you anything for the rent. You evicted her, and you owe her money because she put some carpeting down in this apartment, and you unceremoniously evicted her, probably because you didn't like the new boyfriend. I assume this is the new boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay. When did your daughter move into your apartment?
January of 2002.
And who did she move into the apartment with?
Her husband and her 2 children.
And how long did she live there?
Till January 2 of 2003.
And did she pay rent pretty faithfully from January of 2002 up until about November?
Yes, yes.
So why don't you tell me what happened in December of 2002 that caused the problem?
Well, in November of 2002, I called her about 3 times, and I told her, Julie, I have to have the rent money to make the house payment because I'm only working a 4-day week. She got huffy about it and says, well, she wrote me a check for $300, which I have a copy of, and a note saying that I'll get the rest when she's got it, because she ain't got it.
What was the full rent?
$500. I raised it in October.
Did your mortgage go up?
No, but I figured as long as her boyfriend had moved in, you know, that's going to be more payment on the water bill and everything else. And when she was living there with her husband, I told him that I was going to raise the rent in June anyways.
Well, what if she couldn't pay it? Your expenses didn't go up.
Well, the mortgage payment went, my taxes went up, way up.
Did they? Really? How much?
They went from $800 to over $1,000 on my taxes.
Well, that's $200 a year.
So that's why I raised it.
Just a second, that's $200 a year they went up.
Yes.
Well, $200 a year divided by 12 isn't $200 a month.
Yeah, but she was getting very cheap rent as it was, $300,
I understand that. She's your daughter. If
Exactly.
you think I'm coming down hard on you, it's because I don't understand, A, your position yet, and B, why you would sue your daughter anyway. When did you evict her?
The end of October, I believe it was. I told her because I didn't want her boyfriend to move back in when he got out of the workhouse.
Gave your daughter an eviction notice, your daughter and her 2 children.
That's because I didn't want David to move back in. I don't like him. Her daughters don't like him. And he, you know, I don't like his police record. I don't like anything about him.
You're entitled not to have him live in your home. You don't have a written lease with your daughter, so you can tell her you're going to have to find a new place to live because I really don't want to be aggravated looking at your boyfriend.
I told David that too. I told David, I says, you're going to have to move because I don't want you. And she says, well, he's not going to move. If he's going to have to move, then I move. And I says, that's your prerogative, Julie, to do whatever.
Fine. Is that what happened?
Yes.
She's entitled not to have people live with her or in her property that she doesn't like, especially under these circumstances. So she's entitled to do that. The way you went about it, as far as I'm concerned, or the story that you just told me, is all wrong. On what month did you move out?
December 31st.
Did you pay your mother rent for December?
No, I didn't.
Tell me why.
I didn't pay her because I had like other legal issues, added attorney fees.
For what?
Because she's, you know, tried to have my kids taken away. I had to find a place to live, and it's, you know, I didn't have all that money to pay her.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm in accounting.
What kind of work does your boyfriend do?
He does plating.
Is he getting along any better with your children?
I think it's better now that, you know, everybody is separated.
Good. So you understand, if your mother were a private landlord, you would owe your mother $500 for rent.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not going to hear about the other nonsense bill you're talking about for, I don't know how much it was, $37, $57, something like that. Because I think that's ridiculous. You say you put down $1,700 worth of carpeting in the apartment. When did you put it down? You want your mother to pay for that. That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
Well, tell me about it.
When I moved in January of 2002, we had discussed that she wanted to get new carpeting in there and that she couldn't afford it at that time. And I told her that I could, you know, purchase the carpet and for her to pay me back because it's not my place and I didn't plan on being there, you know, forever. And she agreed to, if I purchased it at that time, that she would pay me back the money that I, you know, paid for the carpet.
Is that right, Miss Martin?
No, I told her, I said, Julie, I says, this carpet up here is not it's not worn out or anything. I says, what we can do is get a good cleaner in here and clean the carpeting. And she says, yeah, but I don't like the color of the carpeting. It was sort of a bluish gray or something. And I said, well, I can't afford it because I says, I'm still paying on the kitchen stove for you.
I'm not so sure that I believe what you just told me, Miss Martin. Is that apartment rented now?
Yes.
Who was it rented to?
Her husband and the 2 girls.
The 2 girls are living with your husband now?
We have joint custody. We have him, I have him 1 week and he has him 1 week.
How much rent is he paying?
He pays $500.
Did he change the carpet?
No.
So the only difference, Miss Martin, is in the amount of rent that you were charging your daughter and son-in-law at the beginning of their lease. The difference in your expense is an additional, according to you, $200 a year in taxes. Is that right?
Yes.
That's the increase. Is
Yes.
that right? And the increase that you were charging your daughter and that you're charging your son-in-law is $2,400 a year. Is that right? The difference between $300 and $500. Is that correct?
Yes.
And am I also correct that the initial $300 a month that you were charging them did, in fact, cover the mortgage? Is that right?
Yes.
So then I'm going to ask you why you chose to litigate this issue with your daughter in a court rather than just say, listen, she lived there for 11 months, she paid me rent faithfully, even after I told her she had to move, even after I evicted her, she gave me a check, right? You evicted her in October, she gave you money in November. So I'm not so sympathetic with you. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
From how many children do you have?
I just have her.
Well, then there's got to be another reason, Miss Martin. I mean, you don't seem as if there's something wrong with you. There's got to be another reason why you would bring a matter like this to court. And I don't care what it is. You're telling me you're bringing this matter to court over $500?
No, she owes $7.
Oh. How much was the carpeting?
I have a receipt here. $1737.82.
And what if I find that you owe her $17?
Well, I've got the thing here saying it was put on her husband's credit card.
I don't care. They were married at the time. It's a wash. She didn't know you anything. And your mother doesn't know you anything. You lived on the carpet for a year, and now your girls are there at least half the time. Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye.
Evan Kropidlowski is suing his ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old waitress Christabel White, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Christabel says the money was an attempt to buy her love.
Order. Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 489 on the calendar in the matter of Kropidlowski versus White. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Kropidlowski, this is the former girlfriend.
Yes.
And according to you, you made a loan to her in order to allow her to purchase a car.
Yes.
You did that a year ago?
Yes, ma'am.
And she made some payments to you, and then you broke up and she stopped making payments altogether. You want the balance of the loan.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss White said you purchased a car for her. It was a gift. Tell me the circumstances surrounding you purchasing this car.
We had been dating for quite a period of time. I'd say about 7-8 months, somewhere around there. And her family was going through a bunch of problems at the time. They had been, kicked out of their apartments, or her mom lost her job. And she came to me asking me to help her buy a car because her aunt and nobody else would actually help her do it because they just couldn't do it for her.
Where did you have this money?
I had to take out a personal loan for it.
Did you discuss the fact that you were taking out a personal loan in order to help her with her?
Yes. The car was $3,240, and I ended up taking out a personal loan for $3,000, which is the limit that you can take out in Wisconsin.
And how much were the monthly payments?
$102.44.
How many payments did she make?
She made 5 payments.
When did she stop making the payments?
She stopped making the payments after she tried vandalizing my car. I have a police report that
Can I see that, please?
She came over at 1 o'clock in the morning, and
If you call looking at the car vandalism.
Don't speak.
She came over at 1 o'clock in the morning and with a couple of her friends, and I was just going to bed at the time, and I saw her pull up with her lights turned off, and I looked out the window, and it was the car that I had bought for her.
Why would she come over and try to vandalize your car?
I have no clue.
Had you broken up at that time?
The 2 weeks before, or a week and a half beforehand, we got in this big discussion because she was making payments, but the last 2 payments were late, and I had to wait. I had to pay them on my own, and I have proof of that too.
Just a minute. But you were still dating at that time?
No, not anymore. After I bought the car for her, she did not speak with me for 3 weeks, and after that, I called her after 3 weeks of not hearing from her, and finally she said that she was seeing someone else. So.
Oh, so immediately after the car was purchased, you broke up?
No, we broke up beforehand. We were just kind of seeing each other like really good friends.
Were you hoping that you would get back together
Yes.
again? Is that what this was all about?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now I'll hear you.
First of all, we were only going out for 2 months. He followed me for 9 months after. There was nothing.
Get to the car.
The car was a gift because he knew I needed a car. We were in troublesome things in family. He knew that I needed a vehicle, so...
Look at me. Listen to me. Look at my face.
He wanted to buy my affection by buying me a vehicle. He told me he didn't want any money from me.
Just a second. Was he successful?
In
what you're telling me is that you were really not interested in him. Is that right?
Exactly.
And he was trying to buy your affection with the car.
Exactly.
So you said, okay. He took out the money. You knew he was taking out a personal loan for the for it. Is that right?
He had mentioned something.
Well, mention something. You knew he was taking a personal loan out to purchase the car for you. Is that right?
It wasn't even about that. He just told me that he wanted to buy me a vehicle.
Pay attention to what I'm saying to you, madam.
Yes.
You could live until you're 110. You won't be as smart as I am. So pay attention. Did you or did you not know that he was taking out a personal loan to buy you this car?
Yes.
And that was so that he hopefully would ingratiate himself to you and you would like him better. Is that right?
Correct.
Did it work?
No.
How soon after he took out the loan and bought you the car did you know it wasn't going to work?
We were just going to be friends through it all anyways. It wasn't going to be anything. He didn't want the money from me. Yes.
You knew that right along. Then you know what you're like? A prostitute. You took money from him under false pretenses. He was hoping for, you're not even a prostitute who delivers. Look at me. That is the cruelest thing that I ever heard. You wanted a car. You had a guy who cared for you, who was trying to help. Put your hand down. And you decided to use him for money, holding out the hope that it would be something more of a relationship than just friends until you got what you wanted, and then you told him to take off. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what you just told me. Precisely. You have the worst kind of character I've heard in a long time. How much does she owe you?
$2,724, I believe.
Judgment for the plaintiff. Let me tell you something, madam. You may have a reasonable-looking face. If you have a lousy character that will last you your whole life, you have to have a good character. You have to be a moral person. You don't use people cruelly. Do you understand? Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I trust her at the time, but it turned out to kick me in the butt.
He was trying to get me back, and he couldn't, so he tried to do whatever he wanted to do.
And she knew exactly what it was. She's just been lying through her teeth.
I never made him. I never put a gun to his head to force him or anything. It was never like that.
She used me straight up to get what she wanted and then cast me aside whenever she felt like it.
He got what he wanted, so I'm done with him. And he's out of my life forever, so I'm happy.
I think Judy was right on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of George versus Stuckey. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Samuel George and his mother, Susan George, are suing Samuel's brother, 20-year-old student Donnie Stuckey, for medical bills and pain and suffering. Samuel says Donnie purposely dumped scalding hot water on his back.
When I was a kid, we used to play practical jokes. We would do things like Vaseline toilet seats. Or what was another one of my favorites? In camp, they would take saran wrap and put it underneath the toilet seats. Sew your pant legs together. Those are things people do as practical jokes. But according to the complaint that I've read, these practical jokes got a little out of hand. Mr. Stuckey, you are 20 years old, is that right? And this is your brother?
Yes.
And I gather from your complaint that the two of you hadn't seen each other for many, many years. Were you raised by two different families?
Yes.
You're his mother?
Yes.
And more recently, you found each other and you became friends. You were staying over at your house?
Yes.
Tell me what you did, Mr. George, while you were staying over at your brother's house. You're 16, is that right?
Correct. Okay, well, January 3rd, I went over to my brother's house up to work. And I went over to his apartment. And we went to a friend's house. I got over there at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we went to one of his friend's house, and we hung out and watched the Michigan-Ohio State football game. So we went back to his apartment, and Donnie went to sleep early because he had to go to work the next day. And me and Anthony stayed up in the living room and watched TV. And like we always play practical jokes, we play a little rough. And around Christmas time, I bought a bottle of 100% Pain hot sauce, which is exotic hot sauce, and it's pretty hot. I mean, it really burns your mouth. So, and while he was sleeping...
Why did you buy it?
For practical jokes.
So you planned to use it as a practical joke. I mean,
Yes.
you weren't planning to cook with it and then,
No.
you know, as an afterthought.
No.
You bought it to use on somebody.
Yes, correct.
Go ahead.
And while he was sleeping, I took the bottle and I leaned over and I dripped a few drips, probably about 3 drips on his lips while he was sleeping. And then I walked back into the living room. I suppose he went in the bathroom, washed off his mouth, and went back to sleep because he had work the next day. Later that night, I went to sleep, probably around 12:30. I went to sleep on his couch. And I set my alarm clock for, I think, 7:30 because I knew he would try and get me back in the morning before I woke up and before he went to work. So I hid the hot sauce bottle. I woke up around 7:30 and I fell right back asleep. But I remember looking up and seeing Donnie and, like, walking around the living room and the kitchen area, and I fell back asleep. And shortly after that, he had taken a cup of hot water, put it in the microwave for what he says was 3 minutes. And
No,
mixed.
you didn't see him do any of this.
Oh, I was
so
sleeping.
you just tell me what you felt.
What I felt was he poured the water on my back, and it was scalding hot, and I just felt the skin off my back and just burnt all the skin off my back. So I fell off the couch screaming in agony and pain, and then I ripped off my shirt, went in the bathroom and jumped in the shower and turned it on cold water immediately. And I was washing off my back, and I got out and I looked in the mirror and I saw the skin hanging off my back.
I'd like you to come up here, sir, and turn around so you can show me your back. The lighter marks are where you were burned, sir?
Yes, correct. Right here and then down all the way around my hip.
Okay. How long were you hospitalized?
I went to the hospital immediately afterwards. I went to the University Hospital, and they transferred me to Shriners Hospital, which is a special burn unit. And I was probably at the hospital for a few hours. They gave me morphine. The lady at the nurse, she took the skin off my back. She had to remove almost like a ball this size of skin off the back and wash it. And they bandaged me up, and then they sent me home with a second-degree kit, burn kit, and which my mom took care of me after that.
You have the hospital report?
This is a burn estimate and a diagram, and these are other papers filled out by the nurse and nursing evaluation and other hospital papers.
Have you spoken to your brother since?
No. Not since we left the hospital.
Did he go with you to the hospital?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Getting back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This wasn't using your brain.
I was angry.
Even though he's not too bright, he's your brother, so I would like you to talk to him again. Okay?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Samuel George says his brother, Donnie Stuckey, woke him from his sleep by dumping scalding hot water on his back. Donnie says he was returning a practical joke.
Tell me what you did. Take your hands out of your pockets, by the way.
Well, the night that this happened, or whatever, we all had some drinks. Sam had brought over some Bacardi 151, and him and my roommate, they were, you know, playing video games. They were kind of drunk. I was like, look, I'm finna go to bed. You know, I got to get up in the morning. And I was maybe asleep for probably an hour or whatever, and I wake up to, like, excruciating pain. My eyes was watering, you know, I was choking, I was vomiting in my bed or whatever. My nasal passages were closing, because, like, this is extremely hot sauce. He put a tablespoon in it, and it only takes, like, a drop of this, like, you know, to season an entire pot of chili.
Absolutely the wrong thing.
Yeah, basically.
What did you do to get back at him?
When I woke up or whatever, I'm like, I'm going to get him back. So the first thing I did was look for the hot sauce. Looked for it everywhere. I'm like, he hid it. Okay, I got to improvise. I'm like, I'll just heat up some water. And I was like, man, I ain't gonna be burning hot enough. So I just put a cap full of alcohol in there or whatever. And I heated it up in the microwave for like 3 minutes, just enough so it can steam. And I linked over him with the cup of the hot water. I meant to put, like, you know, a couple of drops on him. So as soon as I put the, like, a drop fell on him, he jumped up immediately, like in pain or whatever, and he knocked the cup out of my hand.
So it was his fault?
Huh?
So it was his fault?
That all of it, no, it was his fault that all of it fell on his back.
So that's what I said. It was
Yeah.
his fault.
Correct.
That all of it fell on his back.
Yes.
It wasn't your fault because you only intended to put a drop on it. So the fact that he jumped up in pain, spilling the whole thing on his back, that was his fault.
Yes, I did not mean to burn him to that extent, so...
Listen to me.
Yes.
I don't think that you understand that I was making a joke. That was It's your fault.
Okay.
What happened was, according to you, you dropped the drop of this hot liquid on him, and his reflex was to jump up. And if I believe you that you hadn't intended to pour the whole thing on him, not so sure about it. The fact that it fell on him was still your fault. Had nothing to do with him.
Well, you knocked it out of my hand.
So it was his fault.
That it
What do
fell
you do for a living?
I work at 99 Center, and I'm a student at UC.
Oh.
Physical therapy.
Fine. So that requires you to use your head a certain amount of the time, right?
Yeah.
It's not, you're not moving cinder blocks from here to here.
No.
Right? It reminds you to use your brain. Right? I want you to use your brain.
Okay.
This wasn't using your brain.
I was angry.
Oh.
You know.
Now you can come up and stand up here. What were your medical bills that were not covered by insurance?
All of the bills were covered by insurance, and Shriners is a free hospital, so we
Okay,
were very
fine.
fortunate on the care.
So, now, Sam, you tell me how much you think he should pay you for pain and suffering.
I believe you should pay me $3,000 for pain and suffering.
Really?
Yeah.
And how much do you think you should pay him for causing him discomfort that evening?
50 cents.
Wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There isn't much difference between a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old. They're both stupid. One's just a little more stupid than the other, and unfortunately, that's the 20-year-old who's a little more stupid than the other. But they're both stupid. Neither one of them are fully cooked yet, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm asking your son is, you caused a certain amount of discomfort.
Correct.
And you think the amount of discomfort that you caused, I mean, you didn't have any life-threatening injuries.
Okay.
You weren't hospitalized for 10 days in a burn unit. You were treated and released. Your mother took care of you at home. She changed your dressings. It was very painful. It was very uncomfortable.
Very painful.
No question about it. And I guarantee you that you will think twice at this point in your life about doing other practical jokes on people, won't you?
Correct.
So that was a very good lesson. Now, I'm not suggesting that your brother here, that you pay him for teaching you a very good lesson. But I think that you're out of line when you say you want him to pay you $3,000 and you only owe him 50 cents. Do you understand? Now, Mr. Stuckey, you would agree with me, would you not, that you caused substantially more injury to your brother than he caused to you. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And that the pain of this burn lasted much longer than the burn in your mouth. Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think is reasonable accountability on your part.
I don't think I owe him anything. You know, like I said, I didn't intend to burn him to that extent.
Well, but you did. So you did. So
Yes.
whether you actually intended to do it or not is not relevant. This was exactly what you intended, only the injury was more than you intended. You intended to burn him on his back to hurt him.
Yeah, but not
To
to
hurt
that
him,
extent.
but not
though.
to the extent.
No.
Well, unfortunately, you didn't have a thermometer in that hot water, my friend, because you did hurt him. Now, I'm not going to give you $3,000, Mr. George, because I think that you have to learn your own lesson. But I am awarding you $1,500 for your pain and suffering. And I think that even though he's not too bright, he's your brother, so I would like you to talk to him again. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, you prepared to forgive him?
Yep.
Good, perfect, thank you.
28-year-old Guinevere Johnson is suing William Glenn for the cost of caring for his step-grandson.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 350 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson versus Glenn.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Ms. Johnson, Mr. Glenn has a grandson, and I assume, Mr. Glenn, that you have guardianship of him?
That's correct.
Are you his paternal grandfather or maternal grandfather?
He's my step-grandson.
Who is the biological grandparent?
That'll be my wife.
Is she the maternal grandparent or paternal?
She's maternal.
How many children does her daughter have?
5.
Have you and your wife raised all 5 of her children?
That's correct.
What's her daughter's problem?
She has men problems, drug problems, not grown up enough to know what she has to do. She can have babies, just couldn't raise them.
Okay. And you took them in?
That's correct.
Who supported the children?
I supported the children solely.
You got no state aid for the children?
The Medi-Cal and a minor amount, I think it was maybe 130 possibly per child.
Mr. Glenn, we're going to think a little bit harder, sir. you're going to give me the figure of how much you received from the state for this child.
It's $841 for 3.
Well, why don't you show me, sir? It's $800 a month. As of July 1st, 2005, that would be $266 per month for each child. This is what your lawsuit is about, Ms. Johnson. This particular child, whose name is? Stephen, came to live with you.
Correct.
And you are suing his grandfather for support because he lived with you for how long?
From the middle of June until, I believe, the 1st of October.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding his coming to see you.
He had come to stay with me for a weekend. During that time, one of his older sisters was down visiting. His 2 older sisters live in Florida with their mother, and she was down visiting. She did not spend much time with Stephen while she was down visiting. However, she did come to let me know that Stephen was no longer allowed to go home. So I then talked to Bill, and he informed me that his wife stated Stephen was no longer welcome in their home.
You having problems with him, sir?
He's a problem child. He has many problems, yes.
This was in June?
Well, the discussion was never with Guinevere. It was with her mother, who originally really loved Stephen and wanted to take him under her wings and take him to the ranch and, just take care of him because he's a good kid when he wants to be, and he's a very hard worker, and that's what they wanted at the time, to have Stephen on their ranch with her. They had an accident up there, one of the children.
Just a second. When did Stephen go to live with Miss Johnson?
I guess it would be July.
And when did the support that you were receiving for Stephen from the state stop?
I think there should have been a cutoff date in July.
Don't tell me what you think, Mr. Glenn. I'm asking you a question. How many months after middle of June did you collect support from the state for Stephen? That's very easy for me to find out from the County of Ventura.
4 months.
And how much money did you give Miss Johnson to take care of Stephen?
I didn't give her anything. I give Stephen a few things, and let me add, Your Honor, but let me add something.
Yeah.
These people at first wouldn't take anything. Stephen
Well,
was a hard worker.
now she wants something.
I understand.
She wants $5,000. That's not going to happen. I'm
wants...
speaking. The taxpayers of the state of California, through their generosity, gives you $266 a month to defray your expenses for Stephen. Now, you had no expenses for Stephen. July, August, and September. That money to the people who were taking care of him. That's a no-brainer.
Well, it is actually a brainer, because I've spoke with these people many times. It's not that we try to keep any money. We try to get her to go to family court with me several times to take care of
family court. She didn't want to go to family court. She didn't want to become responsible in the eyes of the state to take care of him, because she was going to give this a test run. If he was so bad, he wasn't good. I'm speaking. He was so bad that your wife, his grandmother, related to him by blood, said that he's not welcome in my house. It would have been stupid for her or her mother to go to family court and say, we're going to accept responsibility. We want to be his guardians. But if he's staying with them, don't tell me you wanted them to go to court. You just should have gone over there with $266 in cash every month and said, this is to help defray Stephen's expenses.
She wanted me to give her adopting money. She wanted $3,000 a month.
Why didn't you just turn over to her, Mr. Glenn, what you were getting and saying, I'm not going to give you $3,000 adoption money. Here's the money that I get from the state. If you don't like it, Stephen can come home.
She'd have got the money. It just turned out to be a big attitude thing, big problem with her to me.
Well, now you touched with my attitude, Mr. Glenn, because I sort of stand in the place of the citizens of the state of California, and they didn't give you a gift of $1,000. They didn't give you a gift. You should have taken this state money and given it to them. End of discussion. Is Stephen back with you now?
Yes, Your Honor. He worked for these people, and my granddaughter visited them. And we discussed, my granddaughter discussed with Guinevere and Stephanie. They wouldn't take a dime because Stephen does so much for, I know, but he does so much.
Mr. Glenn, then you should have taken the $266 and returned it to the citizens. Listen to me! And returned it to the citizens of the state of California. My question is, did you do that?
I absolutely called him and told him there's going to be a change in custody.
That's not what I asked you.
No, I did not, according to your question.
The answer is you did not.
Did not.
What'd you do with it? You spent it.
Stephen got some of it. Not
No.
She got some of it, too.
No.
Yes, she did.
No, no, no.
She did.
No, no. Your counterclaim, sir, is that she came to your place of business and she embarrassed you.
Well, she did more than embarrass me at my business. I was with a couple customers. She threw his bag on the ground. She came in the driveway real fast, and she said, "You need to take your grandson to the hospital." I thought maybe he cut himself or, as usual, had something wrong with him. And she says, "No, the damn mental hospital. Because you guys, you've destroyed him. You made him this way." And I raised 5 kids. I didn't make any of them bad. Just a second.
What I want, Mr. Glenn, is just the facts, sir.
Okay.
That's what she said. She dropped his bag, and she said, "You better take him to a hospital, a mental hospital, because you destroyed him."
Yeah, and then she made a false report to Child Services, Protective Services.
Just a second. Did you bring him home?
Yes, I did.
And what happened when you brought him back to his grandfather's store?
What had happened is I'd gone to Children Protective Services first to explain to them the problems I was having with Stephen at my house, that he could no longer stay at my house because he was becoming a danger to my children. And a week before this, Bill had informed me that...
He wasn't a danger to your children.
Listen, I don't want you to say anything, sir.
Oh.
I want you to remember how this whole thing started. This whole thing started because you told her that your wife will no longer permit Stephen in the house. Your wife, his grandmother, by blood, said, "This teenager, 14 years old,
14,
cannot come home. I don't care what you do with him, he's not coming home." They took him in, but evidently there was a good reason why his grandmother said, "He can't stay at my house." And she finally found out after 3 months what those reasons were. So she did what was appropriate. She took him to Child Protective Services because she's supposed to take him. Child Protective Services had to be informed that his guardian said he couldn't come home. What was she supposed to do with him? Kick him out in the street?
They already knew that.
Just a second. She cannot put him out in the street because she has children. If she did that herself, Child Protective Services, what are you taking, a 14-year-old? You put him out in the street, we're going to come and take your children. What kind of a person are you? So she went to Child Protective Services and she said, "This is his behavior." Go ahead.
So I went to Children Protective Services. A couple weeks before that, I tried talking to a school counselor because this child needed a lot of help. When I went to Children Protective Services, they told me I had 2 options. I could take him if he was willing to go. They informed me that they felt, by what I was telling them, that he should go into a hospital and be evaluated because he was suicidal.
But he didn't want to go.
He did not want to go.
And you have no authority to put him there, you're not his guardian.
Correct.
So you have to take him home.
That was the only other option I had.
Fine. Now, did you call Child Protective Services at any time other than taking Stephen there that time? Did you call and complain about any behavior relative to his grandmother and grandfather?
No, I did not.
You have any information, Mr. Glenn, that Miss Johnson made any other false reports against you?
Well, she told Child Services that we allowed Stephen to lay around in his own filth. We never do, never have, never would. I mean, it's like the social service walked in the house. There was nothing wrong with our house.
All I know is, sir, that Miss Johnson took on a responsibility that she probably shouldn't have taken on since she has children. Because if the blood relatives of a child, Miss Johnson, say that they can't take care of him, there's a reason. There's usually a reason.
But she took him on because she needed the free labor.
Mr. Glenn, stop being stupid.
All right, well.
Stop being stupid. It would be as ridiculous to make that assumption about this lady who took him in for 3 months and who went to school, went to his guidance counselor, tried to get him involved in other things, and for me to say to you that you took care of your 5 grandchildren to get the state aid that you got for the 5 grandchildren since 1997. Wouldn't that be stupid?
Yes, it would be.
Oh, of course. That's not why you did it. I'm sure you took in your grandchildren because they needed a home. And because their grandmother felt as if she wanted to provide them a home because a child that she reared, that she raised, turned out to be an inappropriate parent.
That's correct.
Right. You have to return the $1,000 that you owe Miss Johnson that the state gave you. You have no right to keep it, Mr. Glenn, and your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Daniel Seabolt says ex-girlfriend Amanda Deaton lied to him, claiming he was the father of her baby. He is suing for unpaid rent and the return of his PlayStation and computer.
Right, Mr. Seabolt, you and the defendant had a relationship, according to what I read in your complaint. The defendant became pregnant. According to you, you leased an apartment in your name.
Your Honor.
You moved in together. She had her baby. You didn't get along.
Correct.
You subsequently ascertained that this baby was not yours. You took a paternity test.
Right, Your Honor.
And you separated.
We actually separated before the paternity test.
So you separated, and then you took the paternity test.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you told her when you moved out that you wanted her to move out too, because
Right, Your Honor.
you didn't want to be responsible for the rent anymore. She did not. She stayed in the apartment for several months. Is that right?
Yeah, about 2 months.
You want her to pay that 2 months' rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition, you claim that you left some property at the house. You want that property.
I would like that back, yes.
Ms. Deeden says she doesn't have your property. You knew that you didn't have to leave the house, that you could have stayed there with your family, that you knew that there was a possibility that this baby wasn't yours all along, so that she didn't fool you. Is that true, by the way?
That is, I knew there was a small chance that the baby was not mine.
How small a chance?
I assume there's a very small chance, but obviously not that small.
Just curious. Why did you assume that there was a chance that the child wasn't yours?
Because I found out that she had cheated on me with one of my best friends. After I found that out, and then we started talking a couple months later, and we tried to patch things back up, and then we found out she was pregnant.
How come you didn't have a paternity test immediately?
I was just trying to forget the incident of the cheating and the separation, trying to work back towards our relationship, and any reminder that was sort of painful for me. I was just trying to get back on with our lives.
How old are you, Mr. Siebold?
I am 22 years old.
How old are you, Miss Deeden?
18.
Shh. Please. How old is your baby?
My daughter is 14 months old.
Does the child's father pay child support?
No, he does not.
Why not?
At the time of conceiving my daughter, I was not dating Daniel. I was in a relationship with the father. Upon becoming pregnant, upon knowing I was pregnant, I should say, because I did not find out right away. I found out after I was 10 weeks along. Daniel and I had started dating at that time when I...
Could you answer my question? I mean, I'm not interested in from the year of the flood. I just want to know how
no,
come
he does
the
not.
father doesn't pay child support for the child.
He signed his rights over to Daniel Siebold.
You mean he terminated his parental rights?
Yes, he did.
With a lawyer?
I don't believe so. It was between him and I and 2 witnesses, and then notarized and sitting in his courthouse, so...
It means nothing.
That's good to know. Thank you. I was not of knowledge.
Well, I'm telling you, unless he's been advised of his right to counsel, child has to have an attorney as well before somebody can give up their rights. He's giving up his rights to somebody else who's not the father. Ridiculous. Correct. Your child has the right to be supported by 2 parents. And before somebody can give up their parental rights, there are certain rules and regulations that have to be followed. And you can't just wake up one morning, give yourself a good scratch on the rear end and say, I think I'm going to give up my rights and my responsibility as a father. How old is this other character?
22 as well.
Okay. Now, she stayed in the apartment for 2 months after you moved out.
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you expect her to go?
I assumed she'd either go to her parents' house, where we actually moved from, because they were kind enough to let me stay there when we found out she was pregnant. I told her upon leaving that I wanted to move back into the apartment, so I was asking her to leave, but I didn't want to see our daughter out. I wanted to keep a roof over her head, and I told her she could either stay there and pay rent, or I asked her kindly to move out.
How long was your lease?
The lease was a year lease.
And how many months did you actually live there?
I lived there from July to December, so that's 7 months.
Did you move back into the apartment?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Well, are they suing you for the entire remainder of the lease?
I'm not quite sure exactly what they're suing me on.
Well, why don't you let me take a look, since I don't think you understand legal documents very well.
I do not have a copy of how much. I spoke with the representative, Stacy, and she told me...
I'm not interested in what Stacy told you, sir. That's hearsay.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Mr. Siebold, you're 22 years old. What do you do for a living, sir?
I work at Walgreens. I'm a photo specialist.
How high of an education did you have?
I graduated high school.
One of the things you have to have when you come to court is evidence.
Right, yeah.
If you're dealing with a managing company, the managing company will tell you and will be more than happy to memorialize in a writing how much money they are claiming you owe them.
Unfortunately, I couldn't get a hold of the person to send me the facts.
So what do you want me to do, Mr. Siebold? What do you want me to do?
I obviously don't expect you to go and do my research for me.
You're absolutely right. I feel sorry for you, because they probably will come after you, not only for the 2 months that she lived there, but probably for the remainder of the lease if they haven't rented the apartment. You can't come to court and expect me to get your proof for you. You understand?
Yeah, I understand, Your Honor.
Good. What property did you leave there, Mr. Siebold?
I left my laptop computer.
Where is his computer?
That's exactly why I brought my mother. The computer is not in my possession. Upon Daniel leaving, he took just a duffel bag with some clothes. He did come back to the apartment at one time where an altercation occurred between him and I.
About what?
He came to the apartment with his girlfriend.
Oh, that's not... Why did you do that?
She was my ride. I didn't want to go alone.
Nobody else could drive you there except a new girlfriend?
Unfortunately, yes. I had moved...
Sorry. Tacky. Right?
Yeah, not
That's
the
pretty
best choice. I discovered later on, yeah.
Tacky. Okay. Laptop computer, sir. When you leave, it seems to me that's one of the first things you take with you was a laptop computer. Why didn't you take it with you the first time?
I was being a nice guy, and Amanda had asked me to keep it there so she can go online and apply for some jobs.
I have my own laptop computer.
Which doesn't have the capability to go online through a landline. It's only capable of going through DSL, and we did not have that service.
So where's his computer? Don't look down at the floor. Just listen to me. So far, you're not losing, but don't lie.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. My parents are in possession of the PlayStation and the computer.
Oh, fine, so that they can return it to him.
The reason that they have it is there's a large amount of money that Daniel owes my parents.
Just a second. What does Daniel owe your parents money for?
My daughter's christening that he had said he was prepared to pay for the day of the christening. After the guests had left the christening party, my parents had to pay because he was not prepared to.
What else?
My parents paid rent in November, but it was actually December. It was November's rent they paid because we were behind.
What else?
I don't even know, honestly.
Listen to me very carefully. You can stand up next to your daughter. Mr. Seabolt may be a 22-year-old idiot, but I'm not. You expect him to pay for a christening for a child that's not his?
He agreed to pay for the christening.
Look, listen to me. Shh.
He planned.
Listen to me. This is your daughter.
Right.
This is your grandchild.
Oh, yeah.
You pay for the christening.
Sure.
You cannot keep his computer. You cannot keep his PlayStation. You cannot keep any of his property. Do I make myself clear?
Sure.
Good. Your daughter lived in an apartment, and if you helped out with rent for a month, you helped your daughter, right?
Sure.
Perfect. So, PlayStation or computer. What else, Mr. Seabolt?
There was
Don't leave yet. Are you living with your parents, by the way?
No, I am not.
Who are you living with?
My grandmother.
How come?
Due to a situation between my parents and I.
What kind of situation?
There are problems with my teenage brother and myself that I'm old enough to not need to live there, and my brother is a minor, so he needs to stay at his parents. So I have taken my daughter, and I am at my grandmother's.
That computer better be returned to him, as well as the PlayStation, in perfect condition.
They were not in perfect condition when taken.
Exactly the same way as they were when they were taken.
Absolutely.
Don't mess around with me.
No,
You'll be very unhappy if you mess around with me.
I believe you.
What else?
There was a RCA 19-inch television set.
Where's the TV?
The TV was taken out of the apartment by Daniel and was taken to wherever he was at that time.
That is true. I was debating on whether or not I should try to put this in the case. I stayed at some friend's house, and when I moved out, there were some skirmishes between us and them, and he told me that he gave it back to Amanda.
You cannot tell me what anybody told you.
I apologize, Your Honor.
You get back your computer and your PlayStation.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's a 22-year-old man need a PlayStation for? What do you do with it?
I use it for entertainment, for relaxation.
He doesn't work. He lived at our house for a year and never paid a penny. He doesn't have a car. He didn't have a job. When he had a job, he took her car.
So?
So we supported him. That's why he had a lot of time to play PlayStation.
How old are you?
40.
How old was he, 20?
Yeah.
He was 20. So he's staying home, sharing a room with your daughter, playing his PlayStation. You're supporting them. Is that right?
Yes.
That doesn't make you too smart.
No, believe me.
But that's what you chose to do.
Right.
He doesn't owe you money for that.
No, he doesn't.
Right.
Gratitude would be nice.
Did you get gratitude from your daughter?
More than him.
Not enough. Right, Miss Deaton?
Oh, not enough. Not right now, no.
Right. I assumed so. We won't go there because this is only a half-hour program. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for your security deposit back.
Correct.
You used your high school money, $1,000 for security deposit.
Correct.
How long did you live in the apartment?
Till January.
Were you working?
I was working from October to January, yes.
How much were you earning?
Not a lot. I was very part-time.
Okay,
Daniel
you were
was
very
working
part-time.
full-
So who was paying the rent?
Daniel and my parents.
Well, your parents paid 1 month. That's what you told me about 5 minutes ago.
Correct.
The rest of the 5 months, Daniel paid. Right?
Correct.
Correct.
However, the security deposit paid for July and August. So Daniel paid September, October, and $100 of December.
Just a second, how could your security deposit pay for the first 2 months?
Because of Daniel's credit, we had to pay a double security deposit.
Fine, and how many months did you live there? 2.
Correct.
Good.
Daniel Seabolt says ex-girlfriend Amanda Deaton lied to him, claiming he was the father of her baby. He is suing for unpaid rent and the return of his PlayStation and computer.
Okay, Miss Eden, you lived there for a couple of months after he moved out. You had a choice. You could have moved back to your parents. You're a teenager with a baby. You chose to stay there. You ate up your security deposit. You don't get it back. You do get back your PlayStation, your computer. 5 days, 9 a.m. Be there or be square. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old Crystal Rivera is suing her ex-boyfriend, Robert Sipe, for a loan to travel to Florida. Robert says he wanted to help with the hurricane relief.
Miss Rivera, you're a student?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
I just graduated.
You just graduated
Yes.
from college?
Yes.
How old are you?
22.
Mr. Sipe, what about you?
Oh, I'm a salesman.
How did you meet him?
I actually met him on my 21st birthday party.
Somebody brought him?
Yes.
And according to you, you started to date Mr. Sipe
Yes, ma'am.
and loaned him $1,250. At some point, he did pay you back $400, leaving a balance of $850. Mr. Sipe says, while he acknowledges that you gave him $1,250, he says that's exactly what it was. It was a gift, and he only gave you $400 because he wanted to help you out, right?
Correct.
Well, since we're getting rid of the issue of whether or not the money was passed from Miss Rivera's hands to yours, why don't you tell me, Mr. Sipe, when did you take this money from Miss Rivera?
A couple weeks before I was leaving for Florida.
When was that? I don't know when you were leaving for Florida, sir. It wasn't on my social calendar.
I understand that. I completely understand that. In August, early September.
What's the matter? They're too nasty for you?
No. That was delightful.
Go ahead.
Yeah, she offered me, well, she claimed that she offered me $850.
Listen to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live?
In Arkansas.
And what were you going to Florida for?
To clean up the hurricanes, relief.
You were going to volunteer?
No, I had a contractor. I was trying to get down there.
So you had a job there?
Yes, ma'am. Well, in the process.
And what did you need money for?
Travel expenses, hotel expenses, food expenses.
Had a job?
At that point, no, I didn't.
Well, neither did she. She was a student.
That was a gift that she gave me. I don't know her business.
How long did you know her before you asked her for this money?
Maybe a week.
Shh, shh, shh.
She offered it to me.
What did you tell her to inspire her to offer you this money, Mr. Sipe?
I was just telling her my story that I needed to get down there, and she offered it to me. I wasn't inspiring her, nothing.
You must have been inspirational.
I don't know what it was. She offered it to me, and I said thank you.
Well, Mr. Sipe, let me suggest this to you, sir. You are almost 10 years her senior. She's a student. You're an adult. You're supposed to be employed. You take money from a student who has no money, because according to her, this was money that her parents had given her for books. She went and sold her books in order to give you this money because she had to get. I'm speaking. Listen to me. I'm speaking. When my mouth moves, yours doesn't.
Yes, ma'am.
So that would suggest to me that something is off with your moral compass. Taking money from somebody that you met for a week, knowing that she doesn't have a lot of money. I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm telling you, that would suggest to a stranger that you're a taker. That's a given. You're a taker. If she, in fact, offered you this money and just said, I want you to take it, it's a gift. So now I want you to tell me, what epiphany did you have at some point? What finding of religion did you have that inspired you to give her $400?
Good deed.
He's cute.
It's the truth,
He's
though,
cute.
ma'am.
He's cute.
It is the
to
truth.
To somebody, but not to me, Mr. Sipe.
That's fine, but it is
not
the truth.
to me, sir.
It is the truth, though.
Let us say that I believe you for a moment, that she was smitten with you, because that would be the only reason she would give you money. If she wasn't romantically interested in you, she wouldn't have given you the money, right?
Well, I wanted to help the people in the hurricane.
You wanted to help the people in the hurricane?
Well,
she's also mentally challenged. I mean, I can understand helping the people in the hurricane. Send them $1,250. Don't give it to him.
Right.
He didn't even end up going.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
Take your money and send it to the Red Cross.
I've actually started a nonprofit corporation to help the people from
Well,
the
that's
previous
fine.
hurricane.
He's not a nonprofit organization. Nowhere to send your money. In what month did you give her $400?
I would say in October, November.
Had she called you and asked you for the money?
No, ma'am. I just offered it to her.
A good deed.
A very good deed. Yes, it is.
We're going to have another good deed.
And then
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $850. That's all.
26-year-old Crystal Quint is suing the father of her son, Aaron Steele, for more than $2,000 in credit card charges.
Miss Quint, how old are you?
26.
Have you ever watched my courtroom on television?
Yes, I have.
For how many years?
Many.
How many is many?
Probably 10.
And in the 10 years you've been watching how the proceedings go here and what the litigants are like, didn't it ever impress you that whenever you give money to a guy, you always get the short end of the stick?
Yes.
You thought you were different.
Yes.
And you thought he was different.
Yes.
They all think they're different. They're all the same.
I know that now.
You have a child with him.
Yes, I do.
How old?
He'll be 3 next month.
How many times did Mr. Steele propose marriage to you?
Once.
When?
January 1st of 2007.
And what did you say to him?
Yes. But it only lasted 5 days.
Just a second. You said yes.
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, we were engaged, and then 5 days later, I broke it off.
Why?
Because I found out a huge lie.
A huge lie?
Yes.
But you continued to see him.
Yes.
And you gave him a lot of money.
Yes, I did.
And you gave him a credit card.
No, I did not. I did not give him the card. I used the card.
You let him charge things on the card.
Only for his car.
And he promised to pay you.
Yes, he did.
And he didn't pay you.
Correct.
That was another lie.
Yes.
After you broke off your engagement with him because of a really huge lie. Now, what part of different from all the other people that you saw over 10 years did you think he was? Okay, Mr. Steele's defense is that's what couples do for each other. She gave me money, and that's what couples do for each other.
Yeah, that's what couples do for each other. They help each other out.
Okay, Mr. Steele. Well, you helped her out, and she became pregnant, right? And now you have a 3-year-old child, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is this your only child?
No,
How many other children do you have?
I have one other.
How old?
He's 6.
Are you married to his mother?
No.
You just like to make them, right?
Yeah.
Now, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Steele?
Construction.
And
He's
how much?
not working right
shut
now.
up! Do I look like I need help? You're in construction.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a child support order for Miss Quint's baby?
Yes.
How much?
It hasn't been settled yet.
Well, the child's 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 2 years, have you lived together?
No,
How much child support have you paid?
I haven't paid any child support.
Well, then I'm trying to figure out what you do for her as a couple.
I paid bills that I had to
Tell
pay
me.
when I was working.
No. Just tell me, in the last 2 years, what bills did you pay for her?
Rent, cable.
Just a minute. Rent? You paid her rent when?
2007.
When in 2007, sir?
Like January, February. I helped pay rent every month.
For how long?
The whole time I was living there.
When you weren't living there.
I didn't pay anything.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. In the last 2 years, you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't set a child support order yet, but that doesn't mean anything. The child is not, you don't put him in a vacuum for 2 years. The child eats, has clothes, has medical, has all kinds of other expenses. I want to know how much you pay Miss Quint. I assume the child is with her.
Yes.
How much do you pay for your child?
Nothing.
Why?
I don't have the money, even
Who
if I did
cares
want to
whether
pay.
you have the money or not? I don't care whether you have the money or not. Is it a boy or a girl that you have in this Quint?
It's a boy.
Your son doesn't care whether you have the money or not. He has to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And how much money do you send for your 6-year-old?
None.
You think that he lives on love too?
I hope.
I hope. You're a bum. You're a bum who spends a lot of money on his own jewelry. You think that I think you're cute? I don't. You may get young ladies like this who think that you're adorable. I guarantee you, to me, you look like nothing but a bum. Now, what did you take money from her for in 2008? You needed to have your truck fixed. And how much did that cost?
Well, it was my car.
I don't care whether it was a truck or a car. It had 4 wheels, not 2, smart Alec. Let's go. How much did it cost?
About $4,500.
And who paid for it?
Crystal Quint did.
From what money?
On her credit card.
And how did you think that that was going to get paid?
Monthly payments.
By whom?
We were a couple.
You weren't a couple in 2008. You told me that you moved out in 2007. You weren't a couple. Couples who have children together live together. You weren't living with her in 2008.
I didn't plan on paying anything back to her.
Well, that's a big mistake. Should have saved your money from K Jewelers and put a little money towards your car and spent a little more money on the children that you made. You pay you back any of this money, Miss Quint?
eBay at a total of $141.
You have 2 children, right?
I only have 1.
You have 1. He has 2.
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
I work for a pet shop in Las Vegas.
How long have you been working for them?
Since the moment I moved to Las Vegas, so a little over 3 years.
You live by yourself?
Yes, I do.
Who takes care of your son?
I do, 100%.
He's in daycare when you're working?
No, actually, he comes with me, and my mom comes picks him up.
You sued him for support?
I'm in the process right now.
You waited too long.
I know.
He doesn't do anything unless he has to.
I know that now. That's why I did the child support order, is because I've asked him for money, and he won't send me
He's
anything.
a bum. Bums don't do what they're supposed to do. If you have 2 children, you collect cans in the street in order to send them something, because somehow he's eating, right?
Yes.
And he's got a roof over his head, right?
At his grandpa's, yes.
Somehow he's surviving. Don't let me hear that you're back with him again.
Never.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,200. That's all. Thank you.
Grace Collins says former business associate Melissa Ballin owes for a trip to India and for unpaid loans. Melissa says the trip and money were compensation for her work.
Ms. Collins, according to what I read, you hired the defendant to do some filming for you for a documentary that was going to be shot. According to your complaint, you bought a ticket, a non-refundable ticket, for her to India, gave it to her. And in addition, you claim that you made a loan to her in the amount of $400 or $500. The trip was canceled because your visa was terminated. You needed a visa to travel there. And the defendant kept the ticket and refuses to give you back your $500. The defendant says you told her to keep the ticket. She used the ticket. She went to the Cannes Film Festival. The trip was canceled not because of anything she did. She had given up her housing in anticipation of going with you. She says she doesn't owe you anything, the $500 that you did in fact give her for expenses that she incurred. Okay, just tell me what this briefly, what this documentary was about.
First of all, my name is Grace Collins, and I'm the honorary ambassador of Nagaland.
Just listen to me. This is not an audition. I know your name is Collins, and all I want you to do is answer my question. My question is a simple one. Can you answer it?
We were going to expose the genocide in Nagaland.
Genocide of?
The Naga people in Northeast India.
Have you been there before?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once before.
When?
2005.
And when did you meet Miss Balin?
I met her on January 21st, 2009, the day after the inauguration.
What is your profession?
I'm a filmmaker, an independent filmmaker.
Have you ever made anything that was commercially successful?
Yes. Yes,
What?
I've produced 5 feature films since the age of 19.
Is that how you make a living?
You could call it a living, yes.
No, I'm asking you what you call it.
It's not quite enough of a living, but it is my
What do you
sole
do?
source of income.
It is your sole source of
Yes.
income? Okay. Tell me about the trip to India.
We were planning to go on February 8th, from like February 8th to the 17th.
And what arrangements did you make with her for payment?
That I would just pay for her air ticket and visas.
What about her expenses?
There would be no additional expenses.
Well, how was she going to live there between the 8th
the
and the
Nagas
17th?
would pay for everything, the hotel, food, and everything.
Plus-
That's how they host.
And all the expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
All of us got our visas, except for one gentleman that she was bringing to the table.
How much did it cost to get your visa?
$73 a person.
Okay.
So she had to fly up from LA to San Francisco because there is no consulate that could do it in such a short amount of time. So she flew up to San Francisco, and then she called me from San Francisco subway station and said she lost her wallet, and therefore I would need to pay her some more money.
Well, how much money had you given her to fly to San Francisco?
$350.
Go ahead.
And then on 2 days before we were to leave, I got a call from the Indian consulate that my visa was revoked. Prior to that, the minute I got the visas, I purchased tickets online.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I travel. You can see proof that I got my visa and all the travel
Well,
that
your
I've
visa
done.
was revoked, and you got the airline ticket, and the airline ticket was non-refundable.
I did not realize that, but I've never
it was.
canceled a trip before in my whole life.
You say that the airline ticket was non-refundable.
That's what they told me.
Fine.
If-
and how
if
much
I
was,
may, Your
just a
Honor?
second, how much was her ticket?
$1,114.40.
Okay. When did you cancel the trip?
Well, the minute we heard our visas were revoked.
What date?
February 6th.
And when did you call the defendant and let her know that the trip was going
The
to
same
be...
day.
Okay. And what did you tell her to do with her ticket?
I told her I was fighting the case on the basis of frustration of purpose. Our mission was to go there, and we were not able to go by a third entity, a known entity of having our visas revoked, that I was going to fight it.
I understand that you were fighting it. What happened with your ticket, by the way?
Well, in my case, my father had 3 seizures at the same time.
What happened with your ticket?
I was refunded my ticket on the basis of my father's illness.
But canceled the ticket?
No. I canceled it based on revoked visa.
Ms. Collins, are you telling me that you provided medical documentation about your father's seizures to the airlines, and based on that they refunded your money?
Yes.
Well, then that was false. That's what you're telling me. I mean, that wasn't the reason that you weren't going.
No, on both reasons. I told him it was a revoked visa, and it was also my father.
When did you turn in your ticket?
When did I convert my ticket to use it? Shortly before April 3rd.
Okay. Now, trip was canceled in February, correct?
Yes.
Between February and April, what communication did you have with Ms. Collins about returning that ticket to you?
About somewhere up to 30 days from the cancellation of the trip, Ms. Collins called me to notify me that Continental Airlines had denied her claim, that the tickets were non-refundable, that she was going to have to litigate against the Indian government to be reimbursed because she had gone through all the procedures with Continental, and that the ticket was only usable in my name, that she would not be reimbursed, and that the ticket was only good for 1 year. So could I use the ticket, she suggested, and pay her the difference so that she could be reimbursed? I was very clear during that phone conversation that as an independent filmmaker, I was not in the position to take a trip and reimburse her, and that I wouldn't use the ticket.
How was she to be reimbursed with regard to the time that she'd spent in San Francisco?
We never discussed that because we didn't even know that was going to happen.
So that, at least in part, you would say, Ms. Collins, the payment that the defendant was to recoup as a result of this enterprise was she was going to get a free trip to someplace and have all of our expenses paid and have the ability to participate in the making of this documentary.
Only in Nagaland.
I understand that.
This whole thing about coming from LA to San Francisco came out of the blue.
Well, she had to go there. You explained that to me. She
Right,
couldn't get it in Los Angeles.
I know, but I'm saying...
She couldn't get it in Los Angeles. She had to travel to San Francisco.
Right, but I'm saying...
In furtherance of the project.
Correct.
All right. Fine.
But I'm saying...
Miss Collins, what happened was, and I gather, Miss Palin, what you did was you converted the ticket and you used it for travel someplace else.
At her suggestion.
Well, what she wanted you to do was to see if you could use it and give her money.
Right, and at that
then
point...
you said, I'm not doing that.
And she said, then use it anyway because it's void in 1 year time.
Yeah. She wouldn't have gotten back her money from the airlines if she hadn't submitted a medical reason of her father's illness in order to get it back, and she certainly couldn't use that for you.
And I confirmed
Just a second.
Sorry.
How many other airline tickets did you purchase, Miss Collins?
I purchased 4.
Were you able to get any other money back other than for your ticket?
Not yet. I'm still in the process.
The answer is no.
I'm in the process of...
The answer is no, correct?
I'm still working on it.
The answer is no.
No, for now.
Well, no, for now. And the only reason you got yours back is because you lied to the airlines.
I did not lie.
Yes, you did.
No, I can prove that my father...
Absolutely. Stop playing.
I can prove my father's medical.
Listen to me.
Can you take this up?
No, he can't. Listen to me very carefully. Look at me. You tried to get it back based upon the fact that your visa was revoked. That's what you told me first. You couldn't. And then somebody said to you, well, see if you can use a medical excuse, because if a close family member is ill...
It all happened at the same time. It happened at the same time.
I tell you what we do. I'm dismissing your case with regard to the airline ticket without prejudice. If you are successful in recouping from the airlines money for the other 2 tickets that you purchased, you have leave to come back here. I don't think that that's going to happen. Did you sue the other? Just a second.
On the basis of frustration of purpose.
Did you sue? You tried frustration of purpose.
No, I did not yet.
It didn't work.
No, I have not.
Well, then why did you use a different reason for yourself than you want to use for everybody else?
Well, that also happened at exactly the same time, which you can see.
Did you hear my answer?
Could you please?
I'm not looking at it. It's irrelevant.
It's very relevant. If your father had 3 seizures.
It's irrelevant to your claim. I just told you, if you are successful in suing
For the return of the money for the other 2 tickets, you have leave to come back against this defendant. I don't know if the decision will be the same or different, but you have leave to come back. Now let's get to the money that you allegedly loaned her. How much money did you give her in total?
I gave her an extra $146.
$146 you gave her twice?
Correct.
Is that correct?
It was the initial $350 and an additional $146.
Okay. And the $146 you either lost or was stolen, is that right?
Well,
that's either a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay, so that you owe her, $146, because she gave that to you once. She doesn't have to give it to you twice. Now,
but my
what
trip
about
was
the
extended.
Yeah, what about the other money?
$500, which she clearly says here that she loaned me. I mean, that I loaned her and that she's going to give it back to me.
I'd like to see that.
And can I present as well the email?
Fine. So I have here an indication that you acknowledge this $500 as a loan that she made to you. And you say, since we will not be working together on this project, I will get you the $500 that you loaned me as soon as possible. I told you at the time that I didn't know when I could get it back to you, and you said not to worry. Unfortunately, I still do not have it, and you are right about my personal finances, so I will focus on getting a job to pay you back as soon as possible.
And the sentence prior to that indicates it was always intended that I would donate my time to get the project off the ground, but the intention was to raise financing for the short documentary and that I would receive a consulting fee for that.
I understand that, but that never happened.
He canceled the film.
No, she didn't cancel the film. The film was canceled.
The trip to India was canceled.
Correct.
But I was still working for her after the trip was canceled.
You want to show me somewhere where
There's
you say
more
I
in there,
don't owe you this $500? Is that what you want to show me?
Yes.
Where does it say that?
Further down in the email, the second paragraph, I will not be reimbursing you for any of these costs now or in the future.
No. We were discussing the trip was canceled. I will not be reimbursing you for any of those costs now or in the future. In turn, I will not be billing you for any of my time or for the week I lost trying to procure visas in San Francisco. Okay, but you owe her the $500.
It was to be deducted from my salary.
No. You owe her the $500. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. Anything else, Ms. Collins?
Yeah, there's more in there.
What?
I mean, more references that was just a loan.
I acknowledge that was a loan.
Okay.
Can I submit, Your Honor, that my visa was not revoked?
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
There's no way she could go into Nagaland. Nobody can go as a single person there.
Listen to me, madam. You have my answer with regard to the airplane ticket. You were able to get yours reimbursed, whatever way you chose to get yours reimbursed.
Because
Don't show me about your father. If what you say to me is, you were the leader of this troop, and as leader of the troop, you couldn't go because of your father's illness, then you should have been able to get the other people's money back on the other 2 tickets that you purchased, right? But you didn't, and you can't get hers. I told you, you get the airlines to reimburse the other 2. Come back and maybe we'll talk. Right now, all she owes you is $646. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Barry Smith says former friend Jeannie LaSalle damaged a Cadillac she was renting from him.
Mr. Smith, the defendant was a friend of yours, and according to your complaint, you rented a car to her, a car that was registered and titled in your name, that you weren't using. You felt sorry for her, that she needed transportation. You told her she could rent it for $20 a day. It is your claim that she owes you for the rental, as well as some damage that she did to the car. Mr. LaSalle says she owes you nothing. How many cars do you rent out, Mr. Smith?
Well, I've never rented out. The proposition was I wanted to sell it to her. It was her idea to rent it.
And when did you have this conversation?
This was March 22nd in the afternoon. It was like after 1 or 2 p.m.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 1987 Cadillac Eldorado Barrett's. It's like
So
the
it's a
top-of-the-line model for that year. And it's
Well,
in good
top of the
shape.
line. I was a top of the line model in my year too, sir. But this car is now 20 years old.
It's in good running order. It's in good shape. I only had like 92,000 miles on it.
I'm in good shape too, but
I
I'm
can
still
tell.
what I am. You know what I'm talking about?
I can tell.
20-year-old car is a 20-year-old car.
20-year-old car by like 2 owners. It's
I'm
in
not
good
telling
shape.
you how old I am, and I've only had 2 owners. That still doesn't change anything. You understand?
I understand.
What?
What? I'm supposed to say here.
Mr. Smith, I'm not saying anything bad about your car. I'm just saying it's an old car, sir.
It's an old car.
It's not an antique. It's just an old car.
But it's a Cadillac.
Me too. Listen, so what did you decide to do on March 22nd between 1 and 2 in the afternoon with your vintage car?
I gave defendant my phone number. She said she called me back, talk it over with her friend. She called me back in about a half hour and said, yeah, let's do a deal.
Let's do a deal?
Yeah.
What do you mean, let's do a deal?
She proposed to rent it. I proposed to sell it. She said she couldn't afford to buy it, so I said...
How much did you want it for?
$20. I wanted $700.
You wanted $700 for the car.
That's all I wanted. She agreed, and I agreed we'll rent it for $20 a day. She went home to talk to her friend. I went home to download a rental car agreement off the internet. I had the paperwork downloaded. I picked them up, and she gave me $20 for the first day. We signed the paperwork. I gave her the keys.
Let me see the paperwork. So you just wanted the car for a week, madam?
No, ma'am.
Did you sign this agreement?
Yeah, when I met Barry on the 22nd, he told me he had cars for rental, 3 cars. I told him I had to talk to my girlfriend and that I would call him back. I did that. We went to go look at the cars. I rented 1 car.
It says here that you're renting this car, and it says what car it is, from March 22nd to March 29th.
He did all the receipts. I also have those. But I wanted to purchase the car. It wasn't rental. And I started renting because I was not working at the time.
All I asked you was, you were supposed to return this vehicle on March 30th. That's what you signed. That's your name.
Yeah, I signed that.
Did you return the car on March 30th?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because I made more payments towards the car. I was buying the car from him.
Did you have a subsequent agreement?
No. We kept doing the rental contracts. But I would pay him more than going towards the purchase of the car.
Show me. First of all, how long did you keep the car?
Until April 14th.
You kept it for an additional 2 weeks. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
That's not correct, Your Honor. She took 2 rental agreements out. She didn't bring the car back. I had to go to her to get the payments and check on the car because she had moved like 15 miles from me. It began like, she was paying me like 3 days in a row. She paid me. At the beginning of the first contract, she paid me the $20.
How many days did you keep the car, sir?
She had the car like 22 days. From the 22nd of March to the...
14th of April.
Right.
22 days. And let's do this so that I don't make a mistake. 22 times 20 equals $440. So that's what she should have paid you.
That's correct.
And that's what you would like, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay him?
I paid him more than the receipts that he has given.
How much do you claim that you paid him?
Can my witness come up?
No! How much do you claim that you paid him?
Almost $600 for the car. That was supposed to be bought for $700.
Almost $600.
Almost $600.
Good. And how many receipts do you have, and how much do they total?
$420.
Let me see them, please. I have $400.
If you look, there might be one with the same date and same amount on it. I think I accidentally wrote 2 receipts for 1 payment.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's
This
the
is a
one for
different
$80.
one. This
One
is
is
a
the
different
white,
one.
yeah.
Right, I'm deducting $80 because it covers the same period
Right.
from 4-3.
I accidentally gave her the wrong
Absolutely
copy
right.
and everything.
Absolutely right. Minus 80, because she gave me a duplicate, equals 320, and she was supposed to give you 440. Ms. LaSalle, that's what you got. You gave him $320.
Can I speak, Your Honor?
Sure.
He just wrote out receipts. When he came to pick up the vehicle, he went home and just wrote out receipts. The only one receipt that me and Barry had actually made was the yellow receipt. So he just made up receipts for whatever he wanted to make out the receipts. I had the car almost paid for.
Just a second. Almost is not good enough. The only proof, and it's proof that you gave me of what you paid for, are these. That's what you gave me. And it says that you're $120 short. What else, sir?
Friday the 13th, she said, come pick up the car. The car's all empty. It's at her house.
she was supposed to bring the car back. So I get a friend of mine, we go up to Jeannie's house, get the car, and I said, when are you gonna have my money? She said, next Friday. We took off, went home. I called her the following Friday. She's not gonna pay me my money, I'm not gonna get any money. So I gave her another week, the 27th, which is the day I filed the lawsuit. Jeannie, am I gonna get my money? You ain't getting nothing, do what you gotta do. And that's when I went to the courthouse. The night while I was driving it back, like I said, it's 15 miles, the front end was shaky. It's a front-wheel drive car, and it's dark. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I couldn't see anything, so the next morning, I went out and inspected the car. The right front tire is very low. I take it to a mechanic, have him look at it and get new tires, and they gave me an estimate of what the damages was because the front-end suspension was damaged. I've got damages on the car. The car wasn't brought back in the same state that I gave it to her. And
Fine. You wanted to sell the car, sir, for $700. Listen to me.
I wanted to sell it.
Shh. Look at me. You wanted to sell the car for $700.
Correct.
You're going to get $440 for her. Use of the car. You're a couple of $100 short of what you wanted to sell it for. Where is the car now?
I have the car.
Do you drive it?
Yeah, I drive it.
Do you rent it to other people?
No, I don't.
But you use it yourself.
Yes, I do.
So look at what you have. You wanted to sell the car for $700. You're going to get $440, which means that you're just a few dollars off from what you wanted to sell it for, and you have your car. Isn't that great?
Sounds good.
Be happy. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $120, which is what she owes you. Thank you very much. That's all.
14-year-old Alexis Sumlin says her former friend, 16-year-old Mike Torres, shot her in the eye with a BB gun. Mike says it was an accident.
Could you step up? You, sir. Up. Tell me your first name.
Alexis Sumlin.
How old are you, Alexis?
14.
And you, young man?
Mike Torres.
Mike. How old are you, Mike?
16.
Alexis, you and Mike and some other friends, according to what I can put together from this complaint, were sort of hanging out together. Somehow, the defendant got his hands on a BB gun.
Yes, ma'am.
And that gun went off.
Yes, ma'am.
And shot you in the eye.
Yes.
You're suing for $5,000, which includes pain and suffering. And because of the position of the BB, it was not removed yet. You're going to have some additional surgery.
Yes.
Ms. Duran says that this was an accident.
Yes.
And her son has really suffered enough because he had some previous problems with the law, and this incident with the BB gun violated probation or something like that. He's going to explain that to me. Right, Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mike, you want to tell me how it came about that you shot Alexis with this BB gun?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was out playing together?
It was my little brother, her cousin, her, and her brother. And
Older or younger?
They younger. I was the oldest one in the group.
So you were the oldest one of the group, and then there was Alexis. She was the next oldest.
Yes.
Because then there were just some young kids. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And where were you playing?
We was playing behind my mom's boyfriend's mom's house.
Your mother's boyfriend's mother's house.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And we was shooting birds.
Who was shooting birds?
Me, her cousin, and her little brother.
Her cousin? How old's her cousin?
I don't really know.
How old is your cousin?
10.
And little brother?
13.
Okay. So you were shooting birds along with these two little boys.
Yes, ma'am.
Were the birds doing anything to you?
No, ma'am.
Why were you shooting them?
Get just for fun.
Shh. Wasn't any fun for the birds, right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the BB gun from?
Mine's I had a long time ago, and the ones that they had, I don't know who gave it.
Oh, how many of them had BB guns?
It was 3 BB guns. They had 2, and I only had 1.
BB gun?
No, he doesn't.
How many BB guns were there?
My brother, my cousin, and Mikey, all 3.
Did you ever see a BB gun in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long had the BB gun been in your house?
Ever since my cousin came down to live with us.
Miss Murray, you saw a BB gun in your house?
I seen one, but my son said he got it from kids in the neighborhood.
I don't care where he got it from. Not a smart thing to keep in your house.
No, I don't allow it either. I told him to
well,
take
you
it
did
back.
allow it because they were playing with it.
Yeah, and I advised him to go take it back to his friend where he got it from.
Well, he didn't listen to you.
Evidently, no.
So I want you to tell me now, Mike, how it came about that you shot Alexis in the eye.
Well, it was like, we was coming from behind the house, and we were standing right there, like, beside the house. So then I had the gun, like, I was holding it. She probably thought I was aiming her. I know she grabbed my arm and it fired. No, if the gun fired.
Did you grab his arm?
No, ma'am.
No, she didn't. You made that up as you went along. It's not even in your answer. Nobody grabbed your arm. Don't throw baloney at me, sir. I don't like it. You understand me? How many judges have you appeared before?
One.
Were you afraid of that judge?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I guarantee you, however bad that judge was, multiply it by 10 times. We understand each other, Mike?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't throw the baloney at me. So nobody put their hand on you, because that's not what you told your mother. That's not what you told me in the answer. Let's start again. You were holding the gun and
then...
Look at me. Look at me. You were holding the gun and...
I shot her.
What did you do when you shot her?
You know, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And, you know, she was bleeding a lot, and I took her inside of my mom's boyfriend's mother's house. I was like, you know, clean all that off. My sister gave us some tissues, so we cleaned it off. Took her to the bathroom, she cleaned it off too. You know, blood everywhere. After she was done cleaning it up, you know, I took her home.
Who did you see when you took her home?
It was her mother, I guess.
What did you tell her mother about what happened?
I didn't tell her nothing.
Did you discuss with Alexis telling a story other than what actually happened?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that conversation with her?
While we was walking home.
And what did you tell Alexis that you wanted her to tell her mother?
I mean, at first I was like, you know, just say it. If you want to, you can say what you can say the truth. And then she had told me like, I don't want you to get locked up again. And so I was like, you know.
Just a second. First you said to her, I think we'll tell the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then you said to him, no, I don't want you to get locked up again.
No, ma'am.
No. What did you say to him, Alexis?
First he said that he was going to give us money, $400. Then he said he'll give us his probation officer.
Just a second. He was going to give you $400 for what?
For shooting me.
Did he say anything about the $400 being in exchange for you telling a different story?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, that's better than what I read. Who made up the story about falling on a stick?
My brother, my cousin, and him.
And when did they make up this story?
Walking to my house.
When you went home, is that the story you told your mother?
No, I told her that he shot me.
Because it would have been pretty stupid if you may have said you fell on a stick. Nobody would have known to look for a BB. Now, Miss Duran, you're his mother. I read your answer very clearly. You want to explain to me why you think you are not responsible for the Murray's medical bills?
I never said I'm not responsible.
Well, you said it in your answer. You said your son suffered enough, so to explain to me how he suffered.
I know it was an accident.
I asked you, you said he suffered enough.
I don't really understand that question.
Well, let's see what you wrote here. You said it was an unfortunate accident. Kids play, and sometimes they do things that they don't understand the consequences of. My son was already on probation, and because of this incident, they put him back in boot camp for probation violation. My child has paid for what happened, and the plaintiff is not getting a dime from us. That's what you wrote. Shh, that's what you wrote.
When he told me what happened, he told me the truth. They told me they was playing. And when Mrs. Murray went to my house, she showed me her daughter bleeding. And I don't understand how she took so long from call the ambulance to go to the doctor, because she was bleeding a lot and she was crying because she has pain. I don't really understand how her mom going to my house, like, I don't know how many blocks is far from my house.
I don't get your answer. Okay, what?
I can explain what she's trying to say.
Yes.
What she's trying to say is, like, well, what kind of mother is she? Like, taking her time, going to my house while my mom was over there and her daughter's in pain, bleeding and crying, while she could just go to the doctor first and then go explain to my mom
So
what
you're
happened.
questioning her maternal instincts?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. After you took your daughter to the emergency room, what was done to your daughter's eye?
She had a CAT scan done and included her eye, But prior to that, I did call the ambulance and the police before I went there.
Now, you were on probation for what, Mike?
For run away and just like disorderly conduct, for not going to school.
So your mother filed a case against you? Or the
Yes.
Board of Education? Your mother or the Board of Education?
The Board of Education, they said they was going to do it, but my mom had already done it, so they ain't really worried
So
about
your
it.
mother filed a petition saying that you were incorrigible, that she couldn't handle you, that you weren't doing the right thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see this BB gun in your house?
No.
Did you know it was there?
No, I didn't know he had one.
Where did you hide it?
I had it on my clothes and stuff. I had it between my clothes.
Why did you have it between your clothes?
So nobody could see it.
Because you were hiding it.
Yes, ma'am. I was like,
Who were you hiding it from?
my mom.
You were hiding it from your mother because it was the wrong thing to have.
Yes, ma'am.
Because sometimes with BB guns, accidents happen. Your mother wouldn't have wanted you to have a BB gun. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
But see, I only had the BB gun. I didn't have no pellets, no BBs and CO2s. You know, I didn't have nothing. Who gave me the CO2s? It was her cousin and her brother.
Listen to me, sir. If you didn't have the BB gun that you kept hidden in your house and they gave you the pellets, and if you put them in your mouth and spit them out, first of all, there would be a few less dead birds, and she wouldn't have a BB in her eye. You got it. How long did you go away to boot camp for?
65 days.
Did you like it?
No, ma'am.
You want to go back?
No, ma'am.
I suggest you do the right thing.
I'm doing the right thing.
Perfect. Now, who bought the pellets for the pellet gun?
I'm not for sure. I didn't know anything.
You did not?
No, I did not buy any
Step up.
pellets.
Where'd you get the pellets for the BB gun? Look at me.
My cousin TJ had already had a BB gun. It was like a silver and black one. It was like you cock it back and then you push it in, and he already had BBs from it.
Where was the BB gun you had?
He had gave me some.
You can't buy BBs yourself, can you? Some adult has to buy them, right?
No, his mom's boyfriend husband had bought them for him.
Another idiot. All right, Mike. I hope you learned your lesson, but I don't think you paid enough. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
Jessica Eveler says her half-sister, Melanie Zampino, stole furniture during tenancy in her home. Jessica claims she kicked Melanie out because she was using drugs.
Miss Eveler, the defendant is your half-sister, and according to what I read, you only recently, in the last few years, had a relationship with each other.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you rented a home that you own to your sister with the understanding that she would have an option to buy it after she paid rent for a while.
Yes.
Subsequently, within a relatively short period of time after she moved in, you evicted her. But your lawsuit wants your furniture back. And you say when you left some furniture in the basement that was yours. You allowed her to use some furniture. But when she moved out, she took your things. The defendant says that you gave her a living room set, that the bedroom furniture that you claim you want back was actually repossessed by the company that you had rented it from, so she doesn't have that. And she is counterclaiming because she says that because of your precipitous behavior, which was not warranted by anything she did, she was forced to move, she had moving expenses, she was forced to move very quickly, and she wants to be compensated for that and all of her emotional distress. When did you lease her your house?
It was in July.
And when did you evict her?
I gave her notice September 10th.
Had she paid rent in August?
Yes.
Had she paid rent in September?
No.
Why did you evict her?
There was drug usage going on, and I only agreed to 4 people living in the house.
How did you know there was drug use going on in the house?
August 24th, my uncle came there, and they smoked it right in front of him.
Smoked what?
Pot.
Who did?
Melanie and a guy named by the name of Brandon.
You agreed, you said, for 4 people to live in the house?
Yes.
Who were the 4 people?
Her, Christina New Church, which is right over there, and their...
Is this a friend?
It's my roommate. We've lived together for 9 years.
Okay.
And they have each 1 child.
How many people were living there?
Between 7 and 8.
Who else was living there?
I got 2 people that were not even residing there, a piece of mail of theirs.
Can I see?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Brandon?
My cousin. He did not live there. He stayed there occasionally during the week because Christina works 3rd shift, and he tended the kids. I did pay him.
Where did he live otherwise?
He lived with his father.
Was Joseph
My husband. Some of my utilities were in his name. My husband and I have been separated for...
Tell me about the furniture.
We did have a verbal agreement about the living room set. If she purchased the home, it would be added in with the cost of the house. However, she didn't buy the house, so the furniture didn't come with the house. And I did try to call her.
Go ahead. Let's deal with the living room furniture first.
Okay. When we discussed the house, she said to me, you can have my washer and dryer, you can have my living room set, you can have the bedroom set if you pay the last $150 to Color Time where she was renting her bedroom set from. I said, I have an antique set, I don't want the bedroom set, but I will take the living room set because mine is used. The living room set was stained with marker. One of her children must have wrote on it. Her husband works on cars. There's massive grease marks on the one where he must have sat regularly, which I have all pictures to show. She gave me the living room set. She never said if you purchase the home or if we don't come back, because when she actually on September 10th asked me to move out, she told me it was because her grandmother threw her out of the house that she was staying in South Carolina. I do not use drugs, and I'm
Can I see a picture of this living room set that she wants back?
Of just the living room set in question? Because I did bring pictures of my old living room set just to show you why I would switch.
You're talking about the sofas and the end tables as well?
And the coffee table. And I did attempt to take pictures of the markings.
Well, when I left, there might have been a little bit of like grease stains, but there was no marker on my living room set. It was only...
When did you purchase it?
February of 2 years ago.
You have a receipt for it? Mm-hmm. Can I see it, please? And who lived in the house with you?
My husband and my 2 children.
How old are your children?
1 and 2.
This doesn't tell me when you purchased it. Take that, please, return that to her. I don't know what this furniture looked like when you left, but certainly a month later, it looks pretty used and pretty abused to me. And when you have 2 young children, that's what furniture like this looks like. Certainly not worth much. You'd have to pay somebody to take it out. You would. You'd have to pay somebody to take out these 2 sofas. What's next? What about the bedroom's furniture?
I purchased that, and I actually have the original bill. And when I got into my house in late September, I came to clean it up and stuff. The bed was set up, but it was sliced. The bed was set up in the basement like someone had been sleeping there.
So what are you talking about, just the mattress?
The mattress and the headboard was damaged, and I have pictures of that.
Who slept on the mattress?
When we lived there, me and my husband.
When I lived there, no one. I had my own set.
Fine. Did you slice the mattress?
I did not. I also have a letter from Color Time stating that they repossessed her bedroom furniture that she left in the basement.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the mattress.
Oh.
And they took the dressers, by the way, because I had asked them to take the dressers.
We're not talking about a whole bunch of money. I mean, we're certainly not talking about $3,500. Maybe we're talking about $100. I'm just trying to figure out why we're all here.
I'd like to make a statement on that.
Go ahead.
Judge Judy, because I feel that we're here for the same reason that Jessica, the only time she ever interacts with me is when there's trouble to be made. When she needs something, she'll call me. When she needs a babysitter, she'll call me. I actually paid money to find her because I wanted to know my sister. And the only thing that's coming out of this, no matter how you look at it, is a destroyed relationship.
That's unfortunate. When did she tell you to move?
September 10th.
And when did you move?
She gave me until September 28th when she started calling the law and having her stepfather threaten to put me out the quote-unquote old-fashioned way.
Did anything happen September 10th that precipitated this?
No.
I basically had coming back to Pennsylvania. My grandma her name's on the house also, so she had a decision to make, and she made that.
That doesn't give me an answer. That's a lot of double talk. You were coming back to live there. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So you were coming back to live there, so you told her to move.
Yes. Well, the drug usage was the reason why.
No. Because if the drug usage was the reason why, you would have told her to move on August 24th or August 25th. You didn't. Or the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You told her to move on September 10th because you had to come back to your house. So stop making up excuses. You get it?
Yes.
And you had a responsibility to give her 30 days notice. You didn't do that.
In that town, you only have to legally give 10 days.
Because you're not allowed to legally rent without a renter's permit, and she didn't have one.
Not nice. Okay. So you get nothing. Not even the $100 that maybe your mattress is worth if it was destroyed, and maybe your coffee tables were worth. Because what you did was the wrong thing, because they're living there with, let's say, 4 people, including 2 children. Two children who by September 10th have started school, have settled in, and because you can't live where you were going to live and had to come home, you told them to move and gave them what I consider no notice. Not even the right thing to do to a stranger, but to do to somebody who's related to you? Outrageous. Now, where did you move?
I live in Dover. I'd like not to say exactly where because
Fine. Did you pay her September's rent?
I did. I have that here.
Can I see it, please?
Then she didn't pay August. She paid 1 month.
How many months' rent did you pay?
I only paid September because when she moved, I was supposed to move in September 1st. When she moved, she had gone down to South Carolina and came back. There was some flooding. People were messing around with her house. She said, Melanie, please just move in as soon as possible. I had to clean up as well.
Just a second. When did you move in?
Mid-July.
Well, then you should have paid 2 months' rent. You only paid 1. You saved a little bit of money so that you had enough money to put down on another apartment. I'm going to entertain.
Yes, the only problem that I had was just finding something. We moved. We
and you
lived
found
just fine.
something?
Yes.
That's good.
Can I say something, Matt? The electric and gas was shut off September 22nd. When my grandfather went the 26th, everything was moldy, the freezer, everything. So they were out for a while.
Listen to me very carefully. You did the wrong thing. You wanted to move back to your house. You wanted her out. It had nothing to do with drugs or other people living there. It had to do with you coming home because you had no place else to live. So I don't know why you're suing her, because the truth of the matter is, if you hadn't brought this lawsuit, she wouldn't have counterclaimed. She was willing to forget it.
Yes, I
forget it. It's over. It's over. You did the wrong thing. You owe an apology, not a lawsuit. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Elizabeth Rivera says her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, Athena Hernandez, bit off the tip of her pinky finger during a fight. Athena is countersuing, claiming Elizabeth vandalized her truck.
Miss Rivera, the defendant is your ex-husband's current girlfriend.
Correct.
And according to your complaint, outside of school, an incident occurred where she attacked and assaulted you. You want to be compensated for that injury. It resulted in severe damage to a finger. Ms. Hernandez says you initiated this altercation by damaging her car. Fight ensued. You may have gotten the worst of the fight, but you started it. And she is counterclaiming for the damage that she alleges you did to her car that day, and also for the fact that she lost her job because of this incident and lost wages. That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
How long were you married to the ex-husband?
13 years.
Do you have children?
Yes.
How many?
2.
How old?
12 and 8.
What's his first name?
Jose.
When were you divorced?
I wasn't legally married. Common law.
Common law in what state?
New York.
There's no common law in New York unless it was before 1933. And from looking at you, you didn't live with him in 1933, so that you were never married to Jose.
No.
But you were together for 13 years.
Correct.
Come you never married him?
I wasn't ready to get married.
You were ready to have 2 children with him, but not get married.
Exactly.
I always understood that. It was always clear as a bell to me. When did you separate?
We were together 13 years, and we separated a couple of years ago, like maybe 4 years ago.
And when did you meet Jose? You have children with him?
Yes.
How many?
1.
How old?
6.
So you were with him when he was living with her?
No. According to me, he wasn't living with her.
Your child there's a 2-year age difference between
Yes.
your child and hers.
Yes.
How long have you been living together?
Going on 4 years?
Well, for the 4 years before that, where was he living?
In his own apartment.
Sounds like some bargain. What does Jose do for a living?
He's a broker, an insurance broker.
How long has he done that?
About maybe 6 years.
Does he make a living?
Yes, he does.
How much money does he earn?
About maybe $35,000, $36,000.
Does Jose pay child support?
No, he doesn't.
How do you support your children?
He provides for them. He
How do you support your children?
He supports them.
How much does he send you?
He doesn't send me anything. If they was to need anything, he'll go buy for them.
That's not supporting your children, Miss Rivera. Do you work?
No, I don't.
Well, who supports you? Is not an answer.
The city.
The state?
The state.
And how long have you been a recipient of state assistance?
About 19 years.
19 years. Well, that's the reason you didn't marry Jose.
Yeah.
That's the answer. I knew, you know, you follow the money, you always get to the answer. That's a reason for not getting married. So Jose works as an insurance broker. The state pays for your 2 children, and Jose has another family. Who do you work for?
For myself.
What kind of work do you do?
Insurance broker.
For the same company?
Mm-hmm.
How long have you worked for them?
It's mine. It's an actual brokerage. I own my own brokerage.
Does he work for you?
Yes.
How long has he worked for you?
6 years.
Is he a paid employee or on commission?
No, he's a paid employee.
And what's the name of your company?
Popular Multi-Service.
Where are they located?
In the Bronx.
Oh, perfect. State of New York is going to send me a big gold star for this one. Now, tell me when this incident took place.
It took place on February 5th, 7:30 in the morning.
Tell me what happened, Miss Rivera.
Okay, I was taking my kids to school at 7:30 in the morning because they have to be inside by 8 o'clock. So as I'm approaching the school, I see Athena Hernandez coming out of her, the school. And then as I'm getting closer, she's running back into school. So as I'm approaching inside the school, she's coming out. And she's coming out saying a smart remark.
Just tell me what she said.
She said, haha, I have a car.
Go ahead.
So I looked at her, I was like, come on, boys, let's keep on going inside. That's not necessary. So I gave them my blessings, I walked them inside, and then I stood about 10 minutes inside. I came out, she's still out there, parked in front of the school. She pulled down her window, she started cursing at me, and she spit at me. So I spit at her right back. And I continued walking home. As I continue walking home, I'm turning the corner, ready to cross the street. As I'm crossing the street, she turns the car in a one-way, she eats the stop sign, and she hits me with the car. I got surprised. I fell down. So as I'm getting up, she rushes out the car and she starts attacking me. So I'm trying to defend myself. So I'm trying to unzip my coat to put my hands up. So I finally took off my coat and she kept on attacking me, and then she snatched my coat, ran back in the car. So at that moment I was like, help, help, somebody, can I have a cell phone to call 911? I need to call 911. I'm being attacked. Somebody finally let me call. So I'm like, help, 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 please come. I'm being assaulted over here. So I see her rushing back out. She's like, calling your son? Who are you calling, huh? When I see her coming out, I pick up the stick to start her to see if the cops come. And I'm taking off my boots. And I'm like, leave it alone, leave it alone, leave me alone.
You're taking off your boots?
Yeah, because I had some boots up to my knees, and they were high, and they were tight, and I kept on falling. So to have my balance and protect myself, and I'm like, leave me alone already, leave me alone. The cops are coming, leave me alone. She was like, no. She smacks the stick out of my hand, and she attacks me. And I feel somebody else behind me push me against the gate, and she just kept on hitting me, boom, 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 boom. And I kept on defending myself, and she bit my finger. And she said, ha, ha, look at your finger on the floor, and that's when the cops came. And I was just, it hurted so much, it was unbelievable.
So it was the tip of your pinky finger that she bit off?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Hernandez, tell me your version of the events.
Okay, my child and her 2 children attend the same school. It's not the first time that we see each other. But every time we see each other, she has something to say, whether it's indirect, under her breath, whatever. Usually I just let it go, you know, give her a, you know, smirk, whatever. This morning...
Let me stop you just for a second, just for my own information. Are you nice to Jose?
Yeah.
Are you nice to Jose?
Yes.
Because you said nice things about him before. You said if the kids need anything, he gets it for them. And I assume that you're still living with him, that you think he's a nice guy.
Correct.
And I assume you don't like her.
I don't have anything against her.
I assume you're not crazy about her because I believe that there is this underlying current of animus, anger that the 2 of you have, and you're not crazy about her. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that I don't understand. You see, you look like 2 relatively normal women. Jose's the bad guy, not you. He was 2-timing you. He was 2-timing you. There's no question in my mind. So you all make up with Jose and fight with each other. 2 women fighting with each other when the bad guy is off doing what he's doing, maybe with somebody. Never can tell. That's his history. That just is so foolish to me. And you're not the first 2 women that I've seen do this kind of ridiculous fighting over some worthless piece of trash guy who doesn't support his children, lets the state do it, lived a lie for at least 4 years. Why do you look puzzled, madam?
Because according to what I know, the state supports her.
State supports the children unless he provides support through the court. The state supports her children. That's why she didn't marry him, or that's why he didn't marry her. They had a little extra cash. He's not going to have that extra cash anymore because they're going to attach his salary, which you just swore under oath that you paid him the last 6 years. They're going to go back and take it out for 6 years' worth of money. Let's move on with February 5th at 7:30 in the morning.
I'm getting out of my vehicle, dropping off my daughter. I run into school. It was freezing that day. As I'm leaving the school, she's entering the school with her 2 children. She tells her oldest son, I'm just effing showing off. I look at her, I said, you know what, why don't you just take your kids into school and shut up? I don't have effing time for this. I'm going towards my truck.
Nice talk in front of the children.
I go towards my truck.
Both of you, as a matter of fact, because I absolutely believe that that happened.
First of all, I go towards my truck. She puts her kids through, there's one door, second door, leaves them in there, runs back out, starts taking off her coat, telling me I've been dying to kick your for the last 8 years. Get out of the truck. I'm in the truck and I'm laughing at her while she's taking off her clothes. Mind you, it's 8 degrees outside. Now she starts kicking my passenger door, gets in front of my truck, bangs on the hood. I'm honking the horn for her to get out of the way. I can't drive fast because there's parents dropping off their children, and we're in front of a school and they have speed bumps. If not, I would have went around and kept going. Couldn't do that. I went up, moved up a little, she moved over, right? As I'm going towards, there was a stop sign.
Just a minute. You have a big business?
It's a small business, not that big.
In case somebody has to reach you at your business when you're out with your child, how do they do that?
My cell phone.
Which works?
Which I didn't have.
I don't believe that. You don't walk out of the house in 8-degree weather in a car without your cell phone.
Your Honor, I didn't even have a bra on.
I don't care whether you had your bra. You may go out without a bra, but nobody goes out without their cell phone. So I don't believe that.
Okay.
Absolutely don't believe that you didn't have your cell phone. So if you have this nut banging on your car looking to fight with you, what is the last thing you do, Miss Hernandez? The last thing you do. You have a nutty person, takes off her coat in 8-degree weather, starts banging on your car, damaging your car. What is the last thing a woman does? Gets out of the car. So what I want to know is, how did her finger get bitten off if you stayed in the car?
I didn't stay in the car.
Why not?
Because she spit at me through the window.
First of all, why is the window open if it's 8 degrees outside?
Because
when it's 8 degrees outside, when I used to live in New York, the first thing I did was make sure those windows were up and the heat was on, not keep the windows down. So why, Miss Hernandez, were the windows down?
I rolled down the passenger window.
For what?
To curse her out and tell her to go home.
Got it?
Got it.
You have some crazy person who's attacked your car, who's hell-bent on attacking you. Why in the world would a businesswoman who has apparently a successful small business, so she's savvy, why would she get out of a car where she's safe to confront some lunatic?
Years.
Why would you do that?
Because I was tired of her. I was tired of her.
So you got out of the car to beat her up?
No, to return the favor.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no. Don't believe that for a minute. Not for a second. I believe you got out of the car to beat her up. That's what you did. You got out of the car to beat her up. And Miss Rivera, there isn't a question in my mind that you attacked her car. Not a question in my mind that the situation happened exactly the way you told me it happened, with a few minor changes, that she beat you up because she was furious. And there isn't a question in my mind that she banged on your car before you got out of the car and beat her up. Now, who is this, by the way?
This is my son. He's been supporting me through my pain and suffering.
You wouldn't have had any pain and suffering if you hadn't started to rail on her car.
Your Honor, this has been going on for a long time.
Miss Rivera, I'm not interested in a long time.
She's been sending me letters through the mail and harassing me and everything.
Were you arrested?
Many years ago.
Arrested for this case?
Well, yes, correct.
Were you arrested?
Yes.
For this case?
Yes.
And what happened when you went to court on this case, Miss Rivera? Because you were arrested, I assume, for either vandalism or harassment. What happened with that case?
They just gave me a fine of $95. They were going to give me a misdemeanor but they saw that...
Don't tell me what they saw. You must have pled guilty if you had to pay a fine.
Yes, I did.
What did you plead guilty to?
To vandalizing.
Right. There you go. That's exactly what I surmised happened. You vandalized her car, and you pled guilty to that in a criminal proceeding.
They didn't tell me it was for her vehicle. They just said it's for the...
For vandalizing. What did you think you were vandalizing? The snow?
Well,
Vandalizing her
she
car.
can't prove that I did anything.
Miss Rivera, you pled guilty in a criminal proceeding. Finished. It's over. Now, Miss Hernandez, you were arrested for assault.
Yes, that's correct.
And what happened with that case? Were you found guilty?
Yeah.
For assaulting her?
Yes.
Oh, this case is over. Wish I would have known that before we started. You have to pay for her injuries because you pled guilty to assaulting her.
She didn't pay for medical bills. The state did.
No. I'm not giving her a dime for her medical bills because she doesn't have any medical bills. But you assaulted her. She has to be compensated for that. And you have to pay for her truck because you started it.
Why would I have to pay if she don't have no evidence I did anything to her
Oh,
truck?
yes, she does. Because you pled guilty to vandalizing her truck. Now, you have pictures of the truck?
No, I have an estimate.
I'd like to take a look at it. And is that the finger that she bit?
Yes, and I have the estimate of my finger, too.
I don't need an estimate for your finger. You have Medicaid, is that correct?
Yes, I do. But Medicaid doesn't pay to fix my finger.
Nothing you
I
can
have
do
to estimate
There
on
is
that.
absolutely nothing you can do to fix your finger. Absolutely nothing. They cannot reattach it anymore.
Yes, they could. I have it here. What they're going to do to it and everything.
Listen to me. Not at this stage of the game. Now, you have any other children other than these two children?
I have one more, which is Jose.
That's it?
3 boys, yes.
His father is not Jose.
No.
How old are you?
20.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a sales associate at Macy's on 34th Street.
And
I go to college, John Jay.
Perfect. You get along with Jose?
Somewhat.
Smart. On your claim, Miss Rivera, I am awarding you for pain and suffering $1,500. I would have ordered more, except you precipitated this attack by vandalizing her car.
But she also...
I'm speaking. I'm ruling now. I heard you. I'm awarding you $800 on your counterclaim to fix your car, which I am deducting from her award. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Which means, Miss Rivera, $700, because I've deducted the $800 that she's getting for the truck. I'm speaking, and you get nothing, but you get your truck fixed. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
And I'm going to suggest, if you are two decent human beings, and you both made the mistake of falling for Jose, you put this animosity to rest. It should be over. You don't want him anymore. You got him for now. Maybe you won't have him in 5 years, but you got him for now. You may not be happy when they start taking money out of his pay. A whole bunch of money, because that's what they're going to do. That's what the state of New York's going to do. You can't escape your responsibility. If you make children, you have to support them. And is there any reason why you don't work? What are you looking over here for? Is there any reason why you don't work?
Yes, I don't work because my reading is not too great.
You don't have to read for every job.
If you can find me one, I'm willing to work.
It's not my job to look for a job for you, madam.
No one wants
You've
to
been
really
on welfare 19 years. It's time to move on. There are lots of jobs that you can do where you don't have to be able to read War and Peace. That's all. Step out.
Billy Tyler says his daughter, Tiffany Cantrell, had him falsely arrested for stealing her car.
Mr. Tyler, the defendant is your daughter, and it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for stealing her car. Your daughter says that you did exercise control over that car without her permission. She had every right to notify the police that you had, in fact, taken the car without permission. So let me start with you, Miss Cantrell. I understand that you are married.
Yes, ma'am.
Your husband is in the armed services.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is he currently located?
He's in Afghanistan.
And how long has he been there?
He's been deployed since October.
This car was originally purchased for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how it came about that your father got the car in his possession.
The car was on my grandmother's property, and he took it because he was angry that my mom had left him.
Where did you get the car from, Mr. Tyler?
Judge, I originally bought the car in Cleveland, Alabama at a car auction.
What do you mean you bought the car?
I was there to buy some cars, and my ex-wife had called her, and she came over to the auction. And she seen the car, and she said, I'd like to have this for Kevin, her husband.
Who paid for the car?
She did.
So that
She
she
wrote a
bought the
check.
car.
She
You
wrote-
didn't pay for the car.
No, she
Well,
wrote
you
a check.
said I bought the car
Well,
at an auction.
I
You
meant,
didn't-
Judge, that I was there to buy the car, and she wanted it, so I let her have it. That's how
You were at an auction to buy several cars. Your daughter
Yes.
came with you. She saw a car that she wanted. She wrote out the check for it. So she bought the car.
Right.
Don't play
Right.
with me, Mr. Tyler.
Okay, I'm not, Judge.
I guarantee you, It's not going to happen. Okay, so your daughter bought a car, and according to her, she parked it at her grandmother's house.
No, Judge.
Where was it?
It was in my yard.
So it was in the yard of the house where you were living?
Uh-huh.
Who were you living there with?
My ex-wife.
Anybody else?
My cousin.
What's the address of this house?
77, Highway 75.
And is that where the car was taken from?
No, ma'am.
Where was it taken from?
71, Highway 75.
That's where your grandmother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live next door to your mother-in-law?
That's my mother, Judge.
Your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Was the car parked at her house at any time?
No, Judge.
Okay. How did it come about that you took control over this car?
When the car was bought, it was to be brought to my house to fix for Kevin. And at the time, Judge, they were going to pay for it to be fixed. And Kevin had gotten hurt and come home. And Kevin asked me when he was home if I would keep the car at my house until he came back and fix what it needed, and when I get home, I'll pay you for it.
Okay.
So we had a windshield put in it. When you walk out my back door, it was sitting right there with a car cover on it. Then, Judge, when my ex-wife left...
Okay, so you separated.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
It's a long story behind it.
Let's put it simply. Alton wanted the car.
To give it to her mom, because I wouldn't let her mom
Just a
have
second.
one.
In whose name was the car titled?
Mine.
Yours?
And my husband's.
So she said, I want the car. I'm going to give it to Mama.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I had told her prior to this that me and Sammy was going to fix the car. He would do. He told me, he said, if you'll pay for the parts, I'll do the labor, and when Kevin comes home, we'll give it to him. And Judge, that's what I had in mind doing.
I don't care what you had in mind, sir.
She,
I don't care what you had in mind. I got the gist of it. You and her mother separated, and she said, I want the car to give to Mama.
Right.
I assume that's because her mother didn't have a car.
Right. And
okay, and you said no.
And not unless you pay me.
Okay, so now you want to be paid before Kevin came back from Afghanistan.
Well, if she was going to take it. Okay.
You had made an arrangement with Kevin that he would pay you for the parts when he came back from Afghanistan.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your contract.
Yes, ma'am.
So now you're changing the contract because now you want to get paid right away.
Well, the car was to stay there, Judge, till he came home.
No, it can go anywhere that the owner says it can go.
But he told me to keep it there until
But then you spoke to him again and he said to give it to her.
No, he called on the phone,
I said you spoke to him again and he said to give it to my wife.
If she pays.
No.
Yeah.
He said give it to my wife.
If she pays the labor to Sammy, not the parts. But just the labor.
Labor to Sammy has nothing to do with you.
Right.
What did you do with the car?
Well, a couple of days there, the car winded up. You could tell where it had tried to be broken into. Not for sure who done it. We took it and put it in storage.
Not we. You.
Well, me and my cousin. He had done the labor on it, Judge, and I'd paid for the parts.
Did you tell her where it was?
Yes, I told her I'd put it in storage, and when she paid us, she could get it. There was a labor lien against it. And she wanted proof of it, Judge, so I sent her proof of it.
Let me see what you mailed her.
And may I speak, Judge?
No, now it's her turn.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When they sent this letter, they did send the letter, but it was not sent until after the investigator had called and spoke with him about my car.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I have the report. And
Can I
also,
see the report,
yes,
please? That's interesting, because you send her this ridiculous note that says, I have in my possession a Pontiac Firebird, and there is a $10 storage fee on it. And then you change the amount of repair bill. It looks like you put first it was $1,300, then it was $700. I don't know. Can't figure this out. And you say if you don't respond within 90 days, the car will be sold at public auction. Now this, I don't know what date this is, but she signed for it on May 23rd, because she allegedly sent this by certified mail. But she filed this incident report on the 16th of May, which is before you sent this letter to her. So the police contacted you. Put your hand down. Police contacted you and said, where's the car?
Probably.
Or they contacted Sammy.
No, they come out and contacted me.
Oh, there you go. And then you sent her this letter.
Judge, the officer, the day he came out, he wanted a copy of that letter. The day the officer come out and talked.
It's absolutely impossible, sir, because you dated this letter May 17th. That was the next day after the officer took this complaint.
Judge, he didn't come out the day he took the complaint.
I don't care whether he came out and took the complaint on that day or not. It doesn't make any difference, sir.
Okay.
What I'm telling you is, I got the whole story. You know what the whole story is? You were mad at your ex-wife.
Oh, yeah.
And you didn't want her to have a car. Don't shake your head no to me. You were angry. You didn't want her to have a car. And you had worked on this car. And when your daughter said, I'm going to give this car to Mama to use because you're not giving her a car, you said, over my dead body. Because I was going to give it to Kevin, but I won't give it to the woman who I've lived with for the last, I don't know, how many years? 30 years?
24, Judge.
24, and raised a bunch of children with how many children?
4.
4 children. I'm not going to give it to her because I don't like her. I like this stranger, now husband of my child, and I'd give him for nothing, but I'm not giving it to my ex-wife because who the hell does she think she is throwing me out?
You're right.
Well, that's too damn bad. You had no right. That's too bad, Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler?
She took it all and give it to a man one time. She ain't going to do it again.
Listen to me, Mr. Tyler. I don't know the reason after 24 years and raising 4 children with somebody that they say, I don't want to live with him anymore. I'm not going back over that. I don't know whether you were a good husband, whether you were not a good husband, whether you were a kind person to her, whether she was a kind person to you. I have no idea.
She's the one who left.
She may have had good reason. Let me tell you something about most women. And how old is your wife?
42.
Most women, if they have a loving mate, someone who cherishes them and cares for them,
Some of them appreciate it.
I'm speaking, and treat them well, they don't say, I'd rather go it alone. See, sometimes men do. Because, you know, men will turn around and they'll say, well, I can find somebody who's 20. What do I need? This 42-year-old who's raised my 4 children. Now, your wife must not be a bad person because her daughter says, I'm going to let you use this car if Daddy won't give you a car. So evidently, uncross your hands. Your wife may have taken your attitude for 24 years. I don't. What I'm telling you is you had no right to take that car and put it in a place where she couldn't find it. And you didn't do it because you put a mechanic's lien on it. You did it because you were PO'd at your wife. And that you had no right to do. You had no right to exercise dominion and control over a car that did not belong to you. Now, your daughter, as far as I'm concerned, should not have gone to the police, should have tried to settle this matter civilly. But then again, you took your mother's side in this altercation. Yeah, you felt badly for her.
Somewhat, yes, ma'am.
You felt badly for her. So, in a family situation, should she have gone to the police? Probably not. Did she have a legal right to go to the police because you exercised dominion and control over her car? Absolutely. Don't say no. She did. And what they found when they found you not guilty wasn't because you weren't guilty of exercising control over the car, sir. What they said was, this is really a family matter, and we're not going to find you guilty of a criminal act because what you were really doing was acting vindictive. And we're not going to get involved with that. So, sir, she had the legal right, put your hand down, she had a legal right to call the police to make a police report that she no longer had a car that was titled in her name and that you had.
Even though she had brought the car down there and told me to fix it.
Listen to me, sir. You can't trip over your own words. What you said to me 10 minutes ago was, it was your intention to fix the car. First, you said you were going to make a gift to Kevin when he came back from Afghanistan. Then you changed that and you said, well, I spoke to him and he said to me the parts when he came back from Afghanistan. She never told you she would pay you for anything unless you're going to change your story again.
Judge,
right. You have no case, Mr. Tyler. Grow up. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Aaron Height is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old Krista Kwalzik, for the cost of a trip to Cancun, the return of an engagement ring, and the return of a dog.
Ah, Mr. Height, you and the defendant dated, according to you, contemplating marriage. You at some point gave her a ring that you say is an engagement ring. You want that back. Things didn't work out. You also claimed that after an argument, because the two of you were living together, the defendant left and took a dog that you had, at least in part, contributed to purchasing. You want that money back, and you want the cost of a non-refundable airplane ticket that you put on your credit card, her non-refundable ticket for a trip that the two of you were supposed to take. The defendant says the ring was a gift, the dog is hers, and she paid for the last trip that you took together. So this trip, well, you're going to have to pay for that because she paid for the last one. All right, let's take care of the ring first. That's the easiest. Can I see it, please? Well, that certainly looks like an engagement ring to me. You know, that comes under the old category. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You know?
Yes.
When did you purchase the ring, sir?
Actually, I purchased the ring in 2004, Your Honor.
For her?
No, Your Honor. I didn't know her back in 2004.
You mean just in case you met somebody?
No, I was in a relationship before, but I never gave that ring to another girl. I just had it, and I couldn't return it back then. So it never was on another girl's finger. But I did have it, Your Honor.
Okay. By the way, did you ever tell her that you've had this ring since 2004?
I didn't mention that, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay. Me and the defendant, we broke up January 8th. And when she took possession of that ring was February 6th. She invited me, because we had that dog together. It was her dog. His name's Monty. So she invited me to go and see how the dog was progressing, see how big he got. It was a dog school. So it was a dog school behind a pet store. So I went. And during our relationship, Krista was always like, if you ask me to marry you, the answer is yes. She would get mad when I said I would want to wait at least a year. So there was no, like, big surprise, like she would say no if I asked her to marry her or anything.
Okay, so you went to the dog school.
Okay. We went
with
to
Monty.
And she didn't believe that I had an engagement ring. So I just brought it with me to show her. So I showed her.
So you were trying to get back together again?
Well, I did care about her, but I did not propose to her in the back of a pet store at a dog school. I was just showing her the ring like I had it, and I really cared about you, and take a look, you know? She put it on her finger.
Take a look. This is how much I care.
Take a look. So she put it on her finger. She loved it. It's gorgeous. I said, it's not a good idea. I'm not giving it to you. It's not a gift. There's no way I'm giving you a $5,200 ring.
You didn't even clean it.
I never wore it.
You didn't even clean it. It's dirty.
It's got clear evidence that it's been worn before. There are deep scratches into it as if it had been worn.
It was never worn, Your Honor.
I never once...
Well, she did put it on because she put it on her finger that day and got in her car.
Doesn't make any difference. Go ahead. So you let her try it on.
I let her try it on, and I asked for it back. She was like, no, can I hold on to it? Her thing was, can I hold on to it? All right, that was on February 6th. On the 9th, I ended up still going on that Cancun trip with one of my friends.
So you went?
I went.
With your friend?
With my friend, right.
Okay, so we've taken care of the plane ticket.
Though the plane ticket, that's not transferable.
You still have that plane?
She could have it. It's hers. It's $368 that I'm asking for, and she can have the credit, you know.
Who paid for the last trip you took?
She did, Your Honor.
$2,400.
That sounds like even Stephen.
I paid for a lot of other gifts. For most of our relationship, like...
Listen, let me ask you a question. You have absolutely no use for this ring.
It was a gift.
First of all, it's an engagement ring.
He never proposed to me, Your Honor.
I know he didn't. I also don't believe that he ever gave it to you. I believe him. I believe him. And if I didn't believe him, I would still tell you, you have to give it back to him. Men don't like to give somebody something that's very expensive, like an engagement ring, and then, for whatever reason, I understand you moved out.
Which my mother helped
Your mother?
me. My mother.
Your mother came over to the house, according to him. Next thing you knew, you were gone. Give him back his ring, please, Bird. All right, the ring is yours. The trip you took with your friend, I hope you enjoyed. You pay for it. Let's get to the dog. And then I will leave you both in peace, and hopefully you can say, we've had enough. It's over. Move on. Now, when did you purchase Monty?
December 22nd, Your Honor.
And you were together at the time?
We were boyfriend-girlfriend, yes, Your Honor.
You were living together?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you put in $900 according to the papers for the dog?
According to him, but I did pay $1,200 cash for the dog. I have
And
the
how
receipt.
much did Mr. Height put into the dog?
He says...
Don't tell me what he says.
Nothing.
Nothing? He says he put in $300. Is that what you put in?
Your Honor, I did.
I'd like to see the bill of sale for the dog.
This is down in Willington, Connecticut, is where we purchased the dog. This is from an ATM machine showing
I'd
in
like
Willington,
to see it, please.
Connecticut. I took out $300 on the 22nd. And she paid with a check $900 and my $300 in cash.
I paid cash, $1,200.
Show me where you took it out of a bank, the $1,200.
Your Honor, I'm a bartender, and all of my tips are in cash. So if he put in the $300 like he said,
There's no question he put in
he should have signed the bill of sale.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. There's no question he put in $300. That doesn't necessarily mean it's his dog. What else did you buy for Christmas?
The dog was not a Christmas present.
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you what you bought her for Christmas.
Oh, what I bought her for Christmas? Tickets to a Broadway show in New York in a hotel room.
Didn't you go with her?
No.
You mean she was going to go alone to the hotel, and she was going to go alone to the Broadway show?
Well, we broke up. The show was in February, Your Honor.
Listen to me. When you got tickets to the Broadway show, I assume you got 2 tickets.
Yes, Your Honor.
For the 2 of you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the plan was for the 2 of you to go to a hotel?
Yes, Your Honor.
What else did you get for
The cage for the dog was like $170 I bought her. What else did I get her for Christmas? That's a good question. Oh, I got her tickets for Six Flags. I bought her a coat, like, I don't know, like $150 coat.
What'd she buy you?
Well, actually, she bought me Chris Rock tickets down at Mohegan Sun, which she took. She never gave to me. What else did she give me? I can't really remember. She didn't give me as near.
Who went to the Broadway show?
I didn't go. I don't know if she went.
Did you go? No? Okay, listen. Forget the dog. You got your ring back?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you a happy person?
Yes, I would
Perfect. Be happy. Be happy. It's over. You got your ring back. You've held on to the ring 4 years.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor.
Maybe it's not good luck.
No.
Did you
I'm
ever
gonna
think
sell
of
it.
that? It's over. Finished. Thank you. Goodbye.
23-year-old Jessica Whetstone is suing her former friend, 27-year-old Ryan Volstead, for a loan to buy car speakers and gas money.
Bird, we've been involved in the justice system for a very long time, and you know, it's never too late to learn new things. The law is always changing. Today you're going to hear about a new defense, something that I had never heard of, but Mr. Volstead is going to tell us about his new defense to a debt. He and Miss Whetstone met online. They dated once. They became friends, according to her. And shortly thereafter, Mr. Volstead borrowed some money. 2 separate occasions, the beginning of July of 2005. The first was a small loan of $40 he needed.
Gas money?
Gas money. And then the next day, which would have been, according to you, July 8th, he needed some more money for what?
To pay for his Bronco to keep it from getting repoed.
Repossessed.
Repossessed.
And how much did he need the next day?
He needed $350 for the speakers. So I told him that I would buy the speakers, hold them for him until he got the money, and then when he got the money, I would give him back the speakers.
So how much money did you give him?
At that time, for the speakers, was $350.
Did you ever get the speakers?
No.
So he didn't give you the speakers and you gave him the money?
Right.
Okay, why didn't you get the speakers?
He told me that he would have to undo the wiring for the speakers, and he needed the money right away before the title loan company closed.
So he didn't give you the speakers and you gave him the money?
Right.
And you were really supposed to hold the speakers as collateral?
Right.
What happened to your car, Mr. Volstead?
I borrowed the money from Jessica.
Just a second. I asked you what happened to your car.
I was able to keep it.
You did? You still have it?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I thought Miss Whetstone said it was repossessed. The next day, he told me his Bronco was repossessed anyway. Did you tell her that your car was repossessed anyway?
Yes, I had paid my loan, and they sent the repo company out after it anyway when they shouldn't have. Possessed when it wasn't supposed to be.
So they gave it back to you?
They gave it back to me.
With her speakers?
Yes.
Why didn't you pay her the $390? Now we're coming to the defense, which I find interesting.
Well, we had agreed that I asked her, give me a week, I'll be able to get my speakers unwired so I don't have live wires.
This we're talking July, sir.
And with my work schedule, it was getting me home very late in the evening. And there was a short point of time where I had no conversation or contact with Jessica. Finally, we had talked, and she said she didn't want the speakers if I was not going to run and not pay her. And she says, as long as you're going to pay me back, then we're not going to have a problem. And I agreed.
When did she tell you that? In what month?
She told me that probably 2 or 3 weeks after she gave me
In July?
Yes.
So what happened in August, sir?
In the middle of August, I was starting my new job, and I was never home. I had no time during the day for anything. I was driving 70 miles one way to work and back. We had talked a couple of times.
Why haven't you paid her back?
Well,
we're well past July of 2005. Give me your defense.
The defense is there was no time given when I was supposed to have her paid back.
That's not what you tell me your defense was in your answer, sir. Your defense in your answer was she bothered me. And therefore, I don't feel as if I have to pay her back anymore because she stalked me and bothered me.
When there's points of time that she called 15 times in one day.
Why didn't you pay her back?
I didn't have it at the time.
You just told me you were working and driving 70 miles to and from work. You were so busy working, you couldn't even call her.
I had another prior engagement that I had to take care of and that she was aware of.
What kind of other prior engagement?
I was trying to get another vehicle back in my possession that I had a time frame for.
Listen, hold on to your money, right? Hold on to your money. Mr. Volstead, you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim, I'm going to give you exactly 30 seconds to tell me about what your counterclaim is, unless you want to say, Judge, I don't want to go forward with this harassment counterclaim.
Upon a week after...
So you want 30 seconds?
Yes,
Then you
please.
better talk faster.
After she told me there was a certain date she wanted the money or she was going to take me to court, I told her I didn't have it right then to give me another 2 weeks. She said, if you don't have it by this date, don't come by my house, don't send any correspondence to my house, talk to my family or friends, or I'll nail you for harassment. At that point in time, I figured, okay, well, if that's what it's going to cost for the friendship, be it.
What's your lawsuit about?
Within a week after that conversation, I had 4 tires on my vehicle with all the air out of them. I had to have the tire company come out and blow
So
the
what?
air.
What does that have to do with her?
I figured that was one of her last
Who cares what you
marks for
figured?
revenge.
Who cares what you figured? Do you have any proof of that?
No, I do not.
So what are you bothering me for? This is a court. What else?
I got fed up with her trying to harass me every single day, calling me a liar, almost getting me evicted out of my apartment after I already made amends with my landlord, with my neighbors telling me that I have someone beating on my door late at night until they woke up.
Grow up. Grow up. Accept responsibility for what you're supposed to take care of. You borrowed this money, you said you would pay it back, and you should have done it. Clear?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $390. Your counterclaim. Nonsense is dismissed.
Kashmir Bigda says the fiancé of his child's mother, Justin Hellinger, punched him out at work. Justin is countersuing for child support costs and for false charges made to CPS.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bigda, how old are you, sir?
I'm 28 years old, Your Honor.
Is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been married?
We've been married for roughly 3 years, almost 4.
You have children
Yes,
with her?
ma'am. I have 2 by my wife, Your Honor.
Your complaint says, sir, that the defendant is the boyfriend of the mother of another of your children. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you married to your wife at the time that this child was conceived?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
How old is the child that you have with, what's your name?
Selena.
Selena.
She just turned 2, Your Honor.
And this is your complaint, Mr. Bigda. Your complaint is that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes, sir.
And in addition, you claim that you made a small loan to him to cover some insurance payment that he needed. Mr. Hellinger says that you precipitated this argument, and in addition, he is counterclaiming. He alleges that you called Child Protective Services on him on more than one occasion, and in addition, he says that he's been supporting your child, correct?
Yes.
How much child support do you pay, Mr. Bigda?
I paid $36 weekly, court ordered.
Do you pay it every week?
Yes, I do, ma'am. It's taken directly out of my paycheck, Your Honor.
And how much is your paycheck, sir?
My paycheck, it ranges anywhere from $300 to $600, depending on how many hours I work.
Then why do you only pay $36 a week in child support? Put your hand down.
Because that's what the court had ordered, because I have 2 other children and a wife. My wife does not work, so I have...
Why doesn't your wife work?
Because she stays home and takes care of our 2-year-old.
You have another 2-year-old? You are very busy, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you work and earn $600 a week all the time, Mr. Bigda?
Because the paper mill doesn't always have overtime. Some weeks you might work 12-hour days. Some days you just work 8 hours. It varies if we have people that call in or...
Yes.
I worked at the same paper mill, and overtime's always welcome. I left that job because of him. Right now I'm currently climbing trees. So,
For a living?
Yes, I cut trees down. I work for a tree service.
Oh, you cut trees down. You said I climb trees. I
so
said I didn't know that you could make a living doing that.
So when he says that the overtime ain't there, it is always there at that mill. I work there. I also put in tons of hours.
Mr. Bigda, it's outrageous that you only pay $36 a week in child support, sir. I'm telling you that right now. Even if you pay it, she wants to tell me that you don't even pay it. But if you paid it, that's an outrageous figure for you to pay for child support. It's not your child's fault, sir, that you didn't know how to keep your whatever in your pants. That's outrageous. What?
Sorry. I only received $26 out of that 36. 10 of it goes to
the Department of Social Services towards arrears?
Yes.
And the rear support is actually medical bills for Mrs. Catterette for having the baby. It's not rear.
No. It's not medical bills for her, sir. It's the birthing expenses for your child. Because when you make a baby, it has to be born.
Yes, that's what
right? Put your hand down. I don't know why you still tolerate him. Yeah, I'd be visiting him, you know, and bringing flowers. Now, I'm ready to hear, sir, your tale of woe.
On the beginning of January 2007, I had recommended Justin, because he had not had a job for a while, to the paper mill that I worked at, and they had hired him. And on January 18th, I had loaned the defendant $50 to get his car insured so he could get to and from work. 2 days later, I had also loaned him another $20 so he would have gas money. And at that current time, I was out on disability due to my hand. I had to have carpal tunnel surgery on hand. And during that time, things were going good. I had come back to work roughly the end of February. And at the end of February...
So you weren't paid for the entire month of February?
I was paying. I had support reduced, and it was I'm all caught up as we speak.
What'd you have it reduced to? How could they reduce it any lower?
Because it was reduced because I was only bringing home $230 a week due to disability. I have proof of what I had loaned him.
Get on to the... So far, I hear $70, sir.
All right.
$70 from your $26 a week that you pay in child support, not $36. $10 goes for arrears. You acknowledge that. So you pay $26 a week, which is less than $100 a month. You want me to translate that by day, sir? Let me translate that. $26 a week divided by 7 equals $3.71 a day. That's what you pay. Let's move on.
Also, when I had returned back to work on February 26th, Justin Hellinger had assaulted me several times.
Well, I want you to tell me what happened. What's the basis of your claim, sir? Let's hear it.
Pretty much what happened is I try to see my daughter whenever I can, and he does not want me to see my daughter, and he tries to control when I can and when I can't. And he had told me if I call to have any contact, he'd kill me and bury me. On the night of January 13th, Mr. Hellinger had come down to my part of the plant where he should not have been and started having verbal words with me. He told me that he was going to beat me up, and I didn't want to have any time of problems, so I went to turn around, and when I turned around, he had closed his fists and hit me on the left side of my head, 2 centimeters from my temple, and I was taken to the hospital by the employers. I have hospital statements showing...
I'd like to see those, please. Okay. Now, Mr. Hellinger, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened on the 13th, please.
The bathroom is downstairs in the mill, so I was going down to the bathroom. There's 2 flights of stairs. I went down one flight, he went down the other. We intercepted each other in the middle. It's about a 10, 15-foot hallway. I confronted him about what he was doing to me, why he was calling my house at midnight.
Just a second. When you say you confronted him, what did you say to him?
I said, Cashmere, why do you keep calling my house at midnight, harassing me and my family?
When did he call your house at midnight? Put your hand down!
It was probably the beginning of January when all this...
How many times did he call your house at midnight?
Oh, several.
Who did he speak to?
Her or me when I was there.
What did he say to you when he called at midnight?
Asked how I was doing and if Justin was being good, if I was doing all right and everything was all right between us. Pretty much wanted to know about my relationship with Justin.
Did you ever tell him not to call your house at midnight?
Justin has several times.
Why did you call their house at midnight?
I personally didn't. My wife did. My wife and Selena were good friends, and Selena had asked my wife to call so they could just talk about our child and other things. They were friends, and Mr. Hellinger does not like her wife. So she would ask my wife to call late at night when Justin went to work.
I'm asking you, sir.
I personally have never called his house after 10 o'clock. My wife had always done the calling for me because he would not allow me to call.
For you?
He would not allow me to call.
When your wife called, did you ever get on the phone?
There's been a few times.
When your wife, just the answer is either yes or no. When your wife placed the call, did you ever get on the phone?
Yes.
That's what he's complaining about. Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you confronted him about the calls that were coming to your house being made by his wife, but then the phone being turned over to the plaintiff.
Yes.
And what happened next?
He got a little irate, got loud with me.
No. Tell me what he said.
He can do anything he wants. It's his kid. And if he wants to be with Selena, he can be with her anytime he wants because he can just take her out to the bar and do what he wants to her. And
Put your hand down.
it made me grumpy.
Made you grumpy?
Yes, very grumpy.
Well, probably mildly
He
made you
slandered
grumpy.
me. He slandered me through the whole mill, told the mill all my business, told the mill, a lot of the people I work with, that I was beating her and the kid. I confronted him about that too. He started to come at me, and at that time I just pushed through with him. And I don't know if I hit him in the head or not, but I did.
Well, you did hit him in the head, sir.
I had an open hand. I never closed my hand when I hit him because he's handicapped. I would not hit a handicapped person.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. I had made a report to the police. He was arrested. I have the arrest,
I'd like
and
to
there
see it.
was.
Now you can stand up.
And I have told people about Justin at the mill, and the reason why I did that is because I fear for my daughter's welfare. That's why I keep persisting. He's a registered 2 sex offender, and it is on the website for everybody to see. I fear for my little girl's life, and so
Yes.
I want.
I've been with this little girl for 2 years. My officer said it's fine. I have 2 children of my own. I also get every other weekend. Being around his daughter is no problem to me. I'm not dangerous to anybody. What I done in my past was my business. The fact, yes, it is. I am registered, but it don't affect my life at all. I have a good job. I work around several 100,000 people a day. I go to people's homes.
Did your prior conviction involve children?
No, it did not. It involved an underage girl, which I did not know her name, or her age, I should say.
How old are you now?
I am
Put
24.
your hand down!
I am 24.
24. And when was this conviction?
2 years ago?
2 years ago when you were 22.
Yes.
And how old was the girl?
16.
Got it. Fine. Not fine legally, but that's a totally different scenario than pedophilia. That's just dumb.
Understood.
And you have too many children, sir, at age 24. If you
I
have
understand.
3 children.
Yes.
You too. I don't care how many trees you climb, and I don't care how much pulp you make. Now, you want to say something to me?
The phone calls that were made to Selena were me returning calls and her returning my calls. He did not take the phone every time, only once in a great while.
Listen, he took the phone more than once. Madam, I don't even have to be there to know that he took the phone
yes,
more
he
than
did.
once. Right. Anything else you want to say?
Just that the support issue, we give them money on the side to above what the court orders. We also buy Davina's clothes, Davina's diapers, her wipes, her shoes. And when we do send them home...
Show me receipts.
Right here, where I spend at Walmart off of my bank card.
Show me.
There's a few. There's Walmart there, where we've spent $502 to buy clothes, diapers, wipes, food.
What about for
And it's all
whose
through
children?
that. For his daughter.
Not for your children?
No, not at that point. No, I buy her
Baloney.
things separately.
Baloney. I don't believe a word of what you... Sit down. You think that I believe that you went and spent $500 on his daughter and none of
No,
that...
some of it was on his daughter. Not all.
Now, that's better.
I'm sorry,
Some
it was
of
my
it was...
mistake.
You made a mistake.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
What?
Also, I fear for my child because last summer, roughly June or July, the defendant was also arrested because his girlfriend Selena had left him, and he rolled his car trying to kill himself on purpose. And he had a suicide message left on my machine. I didn't bring that with me today.
Yes.
The fact that I tried to kill myself has nothing to do with
Yes,
his
it does.
child. I was not with him.
Yes,
I got
listen
help.
to me. Listen to me. That's a legitimate concern.
I understand it is.
Okay? That's a legitimate concern. If you have suicidal thoughts, that's one thing. If you act out those suicidal thoughts and you are around the child, that's a legitimate concern that a parent might have. You get it?
Yep.
Now, I assume that that formed the basis of at least one of the calls to Child Protective Services.
No, it did not.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
How many times did you call Child Protective Services?
3 times.
Tell me about the 3 times.
The one time was when he rolled his car, and Selena, the mother of my child, was worried, so we got together and had called. The second time was when he called my house going irate, and he threatened to kill me and bury me and told me I could not see my child, so I was very concerned about the welfare of my daughter. And the third time was due to him stalking and calling me names and stuff. He had even stooped low. He had convinced his girlfriend to go to the police and report that I had raped her. That's how our daughter was conceived. And the police had come to my house, and she was filed for making a false report and is under community service for trying to have me arrested.
Yes, is that correct?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Okay. That's not good. That's not good.
I was highly intoxicated the night that me and Kashmir, conceived my daughter.
So?
I don't remember any of it, and it was not a coerced thing. I went to the police department on my own.
How much after your daughter was born?
6 months, maybe.
So you had 9 months and 6 months? You had 15 months to think about it?
I was not.
Okay. Mr. Hellinger, he was clearly assaulted, and you clearly lost your temper. So you have to be responsible for his medical bills.
Your Honor.
What?
I have a unfounded paper from Social Services January 30th that he called on me where I was unfounded.
Yeah, that's okay. He has legitimate concerns about you. Are you getting any help for yourself?
Yes, I am.
Good. You seeing somebody regularly?
Yes, I do.
Put your hand down. Listen, if you think that I find you a sympathetic character, I do not. You were disloyal to your wife. You created a situation that she's going to have to live with and suffer with her whole life if she decides to stay with you. She has 2 children with you. I guarantee you the day that you told her that you had another child the same age as your youngest child was not the happiest day of her life. So if you think that I believe that you're a sympathetic character, I believe that you are an unsympathetic character, sir. As far as the money that you claim you gave him, that hardly makes up for the amount of money he contributes to support your child. So he's going to pay your medical bills, which are roughly $500. Unfortunately, Mr. Hellinger, you want to be compensated for supporting his child. That's your prerogative. If you choose to do that, you do that gratuitously.
That ain't a big problem to me, the harassment.
Fine. And as far as calling, some of your behavior, sir, is questionable. And I suggest to you, I would continue with the help that you're getting because you probably need it. What?
I also have proof that I lost wages.
I don't care if you lost wages.
When he
Make up for it for the $26 a week that you send to support your child, or $3.71 a day. I'm telling you, sir, you are an unsympathetic person to me. I think that you would like to have control over this situation that you created. Were you drunk the night that she got pregnant?
No, I was not.
Was she?
Yes.
You know how unsympathetic you are? The scale of sympathy for me just went to a -10. So she was drunk. You weren't. You clearly then took advantage of somebody. That a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he's going to cover your medical bills. Period. It's your $500. What a situation you created, sir. You created this whole situation. I know, because she was drunk. How old are you?
23.
And you?
28.
Goodbye, sir. You get your medical bills. Try to live with each other in peace.
Step out.
Nancy Savage is suing the mother of her grandson, Melissa Balding, for bail money. Nancy says Melissa and her son were arrested on drug charges.
All right, everybody listen very carefully because this is a long saga to get to a simple question. Miss Savage, I assume this is your son.
Yes, it is.
This is his girlfriend.
Yes, it is.
Ex-girlfriend.
True.
They have a child together.
True.
She doesn't have custody of the child. He doesn't have custody of the child. One of your other children has custody of the child because both of these 2 people were, in somebody's opinion, not capable of taking care of this child. According to your complaint, some time ago, your son was driving your car with her in the car. When did that happen?
About a year ago, a little over a year ago.
Let's have a month.
April 30th, 2004.
He's not your only child, is he?
No.
Perfect. It's a perfect example of don't put all your eggs in one basket. When they got pulled over, there were drugs in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I assume, Miss Savage, that they didn't belong to you.
Right.
So the 2 of them got hauled into court and your car was impounded. According to you, you bailed out your son and Ms. Balding, and you want your bail money, which was how much?
$750.
You are to pay for the towing fees on the car and the impound fees.
The impound fees.
That she's not going to pay for because The Hulk over here was the one driving your car, right? Yes. And you gave him permission to drive your car, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest you get the impound and towing fees back from him. By the way, have you paid your mother back for your bail?
Yes, I have. Except for $50 of it.
What about the towing fees?
No, I haven't.
Where were the drugs found?
They were found behind the glove box, stashed.
Whose drugs were they?
They were his drugs.
Had you used drugs that day?
No.
Were you under the influence of drugs that day? Were you under the influence of alcohol that day?
That was possible.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
What time of the day was this?
Around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, because I was laying out at my pool.
What time had you started drinking?
Around 12 o'clock.
He's shaking his head no. I tend to believe him. Were any charges ultimately brought against you?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
That I'm not quite sure about them, but I have this paper right here stating that it was all dropped and dismissed.
Let me see that, please.
I have on the bail slip that I got her what her charges were.
Can I see that, please?
And she has one more charge than my son was, which I believe is being under the influence. She admitted to the police that she had taken somas.
What is that?
It's a muscle relaxer. Not that day, but previous.
Now tell me about the call you received, Miss Savage, from the defendant about the bail.
First of all, one of their friends notified me that their car had been pulled over, so I went to where it was because it was less than a mile from my house. And I asked the officer if I could get my car, and he said no, there were drugs involved, and one of them was under the influence, and so they were going to impound it. So I asked him where my grandchild was, and the officer went over and asked Melissa, and she told him it was at her apartment. So I told him I would take responsibility and go get Brian and have him stay with me.
Who was watching him?
Some of their friends.
Go ahead.
So I went and brought my grandson home, and I was trying to calm him and everything. He was very upset.
How old is he?
2.5.
Go ahead.
I told him that Mommy and Daddy were having car problems, and when their car was fixed, that they would come and get him, and he told me that I should take him to where they were. So Melissa started calling. The first call, she was like, you have to get me out of here. I can't stay in here. You need to get me out. I'll do anything. Whatever it is, I'll pay you back. Just get me out. And that was the first of one of many calls. I probably got between 15 and 20 calls that night, and every time she called, she woke my grandson up. And
what about your son?
He called me once.
Did you go and bail him out?
I bailed both of them out.
No. He called you once?
Once.
When did you bail him out?
Steve got released around 2 o'clock that afternoon, and Melissa got released 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning because there was a woman in jail that Melissa had identified for another crime.
Oh, just a second. This incident happened at 12 noon.
No, the incident happened at like 10 o'clock that night that they were pulled over.
Yes. Oh, so she had been drinking from 12 noon until 10 o'clock at night, according to her. Oh, I didn't understand that. Now I understand. Okay, and during that whole time, she called you numerous times.
She called me about 15 to 20 times, and she told me that they wanted to test her for drugs and she wasn't going to give them a urine sample, and that when she had to go to the bathroom that she would have the girls in the waiting cell stand around her so they didn't know that she was urinating.
Step up. What happened to your case?
My case was dropped before hers was.
What kind of drugs were found in the car?
Marijuana, pills, and methamphetamines.
Whose were they?
Hers.
That's interesting. Not yours.
The marijuana was mine. I admitted to the cop when we were stopped. He asked if there were any drugs in the vehicle, and the marijuana was in my pocket. And I handed that to him, and he found the other drugs when we asked for my license and registration. When she opened the glove box door, he saw a container that everything else was in.
Who are you?
Her mother.
Step up. Why do you think your daughter didn't call you to bail her out?
Because I taught her not to call me and bail any of my children out until they have gone to their first preliminary hearing.
She was in Ohio.
Just a second.
They'll possibly lower the
Just a
bail.
second. What's your last name?
Daly.
Miss Daly, how many children do you have that have been arrested?
Oh, this one.
So when you said you've taught all your children not to call you until after they have had their first bail hearing, you were really referring just to her?
No, I raised 4 daughters as a single parent.
Yes.
And I worked in law enforcement for 30 years.
Yes.
And I just informed them that if they got into a situation where they ended up in jail, I would hope this wouldn't happen, but I just wanted to make sure that they knew what to do.
How many years have you spent in law enforcement?
All told, 20.
Between us, we have more than a half a century in law enforcement, Miss Daly. How many children do you have?
4.
Between us, we have 9 children. Did you ever have a conversation and tell your children, if you ever get arrested, make sure you wait until your first bail hearing because your bail will probably be lowered? Do you remember having that conversation when you told them about, don't talk to strangers, don't go near people's vans? You ever remember having that conversation with your 4 children?
Negative.
Me neither. So you want to go through this one more time with me? Because unless you're kooky, because I never heard of a mother, even in law enforcement, sitting her children down and saying, listen, never talk to strangers, be home at midnight, don't give any strangers your phone number, and if you ever get arrested, I want you to wait until your first bail hearing before you call me because your bail may be reduced. Were you happy to get out of jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Pay her the money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $750, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Deborah Pittman Page is suing her nephew, 21-year-old Chad Pittman, for a loan to get his car insured and for the cost to get the vehicle out of impound.
Miss Page, did you ever hear the saying, no good deed goes unpunished?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
This is your nephew?
Yes, it is.
According to your complaint, he fell on some hard times.
Correct.
And you offered to advance him the money to pay his car insurance.
Correct.
And he was supposed to pay you back.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you pay his insurance?
April 11th of 2006.
And how was he supposed to make the payments to you?
He was just starting a new job, and so he thought he could go ahead and pay me then. So he was living at home with his father and his stepmom.
Is that your brother?
Yes. So they had said that he had to have a registered and insured vehicle in order to move back in home. And so that's why we did this. And I paid the insurance company. I wrote a check for $1,432, and then he gave me $432 that he had. That way he was able to get registered and insured, and he moved back in.
And how many payments did he make?
Well, he paid the $432 initially, and then he paid another $100, and then about 6 months later he paid me $60.
Okay, young man, now tell me what happened.
What happened was...
Don't listen. Don't look down.
What happened was on the 12th of April, she did write a check. I did give her the $480.
We're past that. She
Okay.
wrote the check. You gave her $432, leaving a $1,000 balance. You paid her another $160 over a period of time.
No.
You didn't pay her anything.
I gave her more than $160.
Okay, how much did you give her, sir?
I brought the payment down to $840, which means I paid her... $160, okay. So I was wrong. I got arrested.
No. Look here. You got...
I got arrested.
When?
I got arrested on November 7th.
So between April 12th and November 7th, you gave her a total of $160.
Correct.
Why
But
is
in between times, I didn't have a job. I told her that I'll give you the money, but I also have to support myself at the same time. So I wasn't always able to give her as much as she had expected.
Well, how about anything?
Oh, I would give her something.
No, you didn't. You gave her $160. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, in 7 months.
In 7
months, if you gave her, let's say, $5 a week, which, look at me, mister, look at me. It means going one less time to McDonald's, sir. It means getting one less Frosty Freeze. Mr. Pittman, on the 7th of November, you got arrested for what and where?
I got arrested in Amesbury, Massachusetts for possession of a firearm, a Class D substance.
What was the substance?
Weed.
Marijuana?
Yes. With the FID numbers filed off, and...
The FID numbers filed off the marijuana or the firearm?
No, the firearm. And then I was brought into Middleton.
You were stopped in your car?
Yeah.
The car that your aunt had insured?
Yes. And then it was impounded.
It was?
Oh, yeah, it was. It got impounded. She went to the...
How did she find out that your car was impounded?
Because my dad had found out that I was arrested. She found out. She wanted the car to take out, get the license plates off, turn them in, collect the past due, not the past due, but the amount
the
for
balance of the insurance.
Exactly.
So that she would at least have some money back.
Right. But she also wanted me to pay the $210. She also has my...
$210 for what?
For getting the car out of the impound.
Didn't you want the car anymore?
It didn't matter to me either way. I was going to be in Middleton for more than a year, so...
Listen to me. So at that point, it didn't matter to you that the car was an impound. What kind of car is this?
96 Ford Contour.
So you didn't care whether the car was an impound. As far as you were concerned, they could have turned it into a toaster.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But didn't you understand, sir, that by letting the car remain there, your aunt was stuck with this $840 payment that you owed her?
I had full intention on paying her, but I couldn't justify why am I paying her. She has my car, she has my title, threatened to forge my signature on my title, said that she could get $1,300 at a junkyard for it, tried signing it. She didn't seem to want either, so I just was like, well, make up your mind.
Can you get any money for his car?
It turns out that in Massachusetts you have to have an inspection sticker, and the car had already been rejected, so it had a rejection sticker on there because it needed some taillights, it needed some other underneath work, but I wasn't sure exactly what. But it also had a cracked windshield, so that was another $200 and some odd. So it turns out that the car wasn't worth what the Kelley Blue Book value on it was. So when he wanted to change the deal and just sign that over to me and say, well, you get to sell the car for whatever, he couldn't understand that I didn't want to deal with selling the car, plus the car wasn't worth the money, and so I wanted him still to pay me the money he owed me. And he
Fabulous.
just didn't
Where
understand.
is the car now?
It's in the parking lot of my parents' house.
Where's the title to the car?
I have the title here.
May I have it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, he gave you the title, I assume, because you indicate that in your complaint, to hold as collateral.
Correct.
Mr. Pittman, Chad.
Yes.
That would be you, right?
That's me.
Guess what I have for you, Chad?
A title?
You know how quick and clever he is?
Sharp as a bowling ball.
Sharp as a bowling ball. Now you have the car. She wants her $840 and what she spent to get it out of impound.
I didn't ask her to get it out of impound. She went out to get it by herself.
Well, let me ask you
Middleton
this question, Mr. Pittman. Let's follow your logic, sir. We're now talking about a substantial amount of time later, 10 months. Ultimately, you were going to either get your car back or be stuck with paying her $840. What I'm giving you the opportunity to do is to take the car now that you have the title, and you can sell it. Maybe you can sell it for junk. Maybe you can get $200 for it. Maybe you can get $300 for it. Or you can sign the car over to her. Do you understand?
Yeah, that was
Sign the car
original...
over to her, and you're still going to pay her $840. What's your pleasure, Mr. Pittman? Mr. Pittman, this is your choice. I'm going to see how smart a boy you are. You can either sign the car over to her now and pay her $840, or you can keep the car and pay her $840. What would you like to do?
Well, I'll keep the car. I'll give her the $840.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you very much, in addition to the towing. You got it?
Gotcha.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,050. Thank you, Your Honor.
Coach Kiev says her former live-in boyfriend, Jovial Monzon, owes for the return of property and for the cost to repair her home.
Ms. Kiev, how long did you and the defendant live together?
We lived with each other for over 5 years.
In your complaint, you say it was 6.
6 years, yes. That's when the trouble started.
And during the time that you were living together, were you working?
Yes, I was working.
Continuously?
Continuously.
And what about the defendant? Was he working?
No, he was always between jobs. He had over 5 jobs.
How long were you unemployed, Mr. Monson?
It was like a month.
But other than that, you were working?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you arrange your finances?
In my paycheck, I pay the mortgages and bills.
And what about with his paycheck?
His paycheck, whenever he can help me, he'll give me some money.
It doesn't seem like a very, very appropriate financial arrangement. Did you have a joint bank account?
At one point, we did.
Oh, fine. So you had a joint bank account. And when you had a joint bank account, did you deposit your paychecks?
Yes, I did, but money was missing from the account. Plus, child support was pulling money from the account because he owed over $53,000 in arrear back payments, which I have evidence.
You don't have to show me. I got it. You picked them.
Right. Bad apple.
Well, I would have figured that out if it's true within a year, not 6 years. You have no children together?
No.
Perfect. This is your complaint. You say that he trashed your house when he moved out, and you want him to fix up the house, that he also took all the property in the house. When he moved out, you want the return of value of your property. Also say that he has a car that was evidently in both your names. You don't necessarily want the car back, but you want your name off the title because you don't want to be responsible for the car anymore.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Monzon says that the car is just as much his as it is yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who paid for it?
Apparently I did.
What do you mean apparently? What does that mean?
Because she said that I didn't make the house payment, so then my check only paid the Montero, so I guess the Montero's mine then.
I have...
I mean, that's what she told me. My check wasn't making the house payment. It was just paying the bills in the Montero. Hello, how did you make the house payment then?
Did you take any property from the house, sir?
The property I took from the house...
No, the answer is either
yes, I did.
Or no. What property did you take from the house?
I took some furniture that I bought.
That you bought when?
When we were together.
From what money? Is not an answer.
Like August.
From the money August?
I mean, what'd you say about the furniture? I mean, you're confusing me, I'm sorry.
I want you to try to pay attention, not try to think ahead.
Okay.
It will be too taxing for you. I want you to think of what I'm saying just at the moment. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the money from that you used to purchase the furniture?
Oh, from my check, from my work, my job.
Okay. Did you deposit it in a bank account?
No, I gave her my check, and I had my own money.
You mean you had different money from the money that you earned from your work?
Since we were no longer together, as she claimed, I wasn't going to give her the rest of my check anymore.
I'm asking you about the furniture that you purchased, sir, that was in the house.
Yes, I purchased it.
Oh. See, this is not going to be easy. Listen, almost marrieds don't cut it in court, especially this one. Is not particularly interested in your almost married debt, your almost married joint property, your almost married bank accounts. You choose to get married, we've created an entire and an elaborate court system to deal with that. You choose to live together without benefit of marriage. There are certain things that you're going to fall short when the relationship terminates. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So, you want the furniture or the car?
I'll take the car.
Perfect. Where's the title?
I had the register already in my name, because that's what she wanted.
Fine, so it's out of her name now.
Yes, it is.
Is that what you want?
Yes, and also the F-150, his truck, my name is also on there too.
The F-150 is in my dad's name. It's no longer in the name.
Okay, listen to me. Where is all the furniture?
Some of it is gone because she abandoned the house and me, and I didn't know when she was going to come back or not. She left right...
Where's the furniture?
It's gone.
Did it fly away, sir? Did the earth open up and take it?
Some of the furniture was still there.
Okay. Mr. Monzon, you're making my life very easy, sir. Very easy. Let me see pictures of the house, please.
Do you want to see the before or after?
I want to see both.
Okay.
And the property that he took from the house, give me an approximate value of this furniture that's gone.
The ones that I'm concerned about are my computer, armor, passport, necklace that I got from my mom, my late mother, and...
That's not furniture, madam. You're not talking furniture. I'm talking about furniture.
I didn't come here for furniture. I came...
Oh, because you say in your complaint that he emptied out your house.
Yes, but what I'm concerned about is my computer, my passport...
Where's her computer?
The computer was bought for me. She bought that computer for me.
No, I have...
Just a second. It's not your computer. Do you understand? The computer is going back to her. You've got the car and the truck. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you get. That's what I'm giving you. Period. Everything else goes back to her, including the computer. Do you understand? Within 5 days, the computer goes back to her. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an order to motor vehicles to transfer the titles to both the truck and the car back to her name. Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what kind of an agreement you signed when you came here? That every decision that I made, you would abide by.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Within 5 days, the computer goes back to her in good condition. Because if it's not, I'm going to take your car away. Now do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. Now I see the nice house. By the way, you have her passport too?
No.
You're going to have to write away for another passport. All right, it's got a nice house. Can I see the after, please? Perfect. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Mr. Monzone, what were you so angry about, sir?
Well, I was angry at her, but I didn't take it out on the house. House don't hit back.
I understand from reading the complaint that there came a time when you weren't there. He changed the locks on the house. Did you change the locks on him?
Prior to November, I did.
Did you let him back in?
No, he kicked the door in.
And what did you do?
I called the police because
And the police told you that you couldn't lock him out?
No.
Okay. Did he come back into the house?
He came back into the house.
How?
He kicked the door into the house.
You already told me that he kicked the door once.
Right.
And the police were called.
Right.
What happened when the police were called?
They told me that you shouldn't have locked him up because he has every right to be here.
You shouldn't have. That's what I thought.
Because I was coming home from work, and I didn't know I was being locked out anyways.
I would have locked you out a long time ago, but that's just me. Who made the holes in the wall, sir? I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you at all.
When I left the house, it was in good condition.
Not now. So either you did it or she destroyed her own house.
Your Honor, I was served some papers from one of her lawyers saying that they hear voices in the house. And, like, if they hear voices in the house and I'm at work, hello, what did that tell you? Somebody else is in the house. Call the police, I'm being robbed.
Mr. Monzon, you walked out of the house with probably the only two valuable things that were there, which were a car and a truck. Now you say one is in your father's name. How did it get in your father's name?
He was the one who bought me that truck, and they just put it in our name just to show him how much they cared about us, that they didn't want nothing to do with it.
He bought the truck for?
For me, but to put it in our name.
He put it in your name because you owed back child support, and they were going to take the truck if you put it in your name alone. Who are you kidding?
No, that wasn't the reason why.
Wasn't the reason why? But
No,
it was a very good reason. Is that smart of me to think of that?
Yeah, it is, but it wasn't though.
Right. Right. I'm just going to cost you to clean up this mess.
I don't live there, so it's hard for me to get somebody to go and give an estimate. I've been working with my realtor, and she's been trying to get someone out there also, and we haven't.
Well, how do you expect me to figure it out?
It's a lot of damage. I have receipts from when I installed the carpet, brand new carpet, and the stove that he damaged. I have receipts of it.
In what year did you install that?
It was July '06 when I had the house on the market.
And was he living there in July of '06?
July '06, he actually went to rehab, drug rehab. He was gone for a week.
You had been living with him. So if you put the new carpet in the house, madam, it's from monies that you had pooled together.
No, this is money from refinancing my house.
How much did you take out of the house?
I took out to pay off the car, which was $21,000 on the car, and
which car?
The Montero.
You paid off the Montero?
I paid off the Montero. I have the refinancing paperwork. Shows the check distributed to Mitsubishi.
Can I see that, please? You paid off the car?
Yes, I did.
You want the car?
I do want the car back.
Oh, you want the car?
But he refused to give me back the car, so I said, if you want to keep the car, then take my name off the title because I don't want any responsibility. But if I can get my car back, I would love to have my car back because I paid for that.
She says she took out a home equity loan and refinanced the house for $21,000 and paid off the Montero. Is that true? I have paperwork here.
I guess so. I mean, like,
What year is the Montero?
2002.
How much was it?
$800 and something that apparently I was making the payments on.
So you can't pay for both the house and the car at the same time?
No, but apparently she said she was. It's her car and the house. Your Honor, the house, we bought the house together. I mean, like, I'm not even countersuing against that.
When was the house purchased?
It was purchased like 2 years ago, which my parents gave her $15,000 so she can purchase the house. We could.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. And the house was put in her name?
No, she put it in her own name.
I said the house was put in her name.
Right. Why would you put my name in there?
Why? Because you owe $53,000 of back child support. That's why. And they would have taken your house. That's why it was put in her name. Same reason that the cars were put in other people's names other than yours. Have you paid your child support?
Yes, I pay it out of my paycheck. Comes
Oh,
out
because now they take it out of your paycheck.
Yes, I pay
Good.
it.
Who are you living with now?
I'm between houses.
You're living in one of your cars?
No. I'm supposed to be leaving to go to Denver. Apparently, I had to come here first, take care of this.
Leaving for Denver for what?
To start anew, to get away from the plaintiff.
Where are your children?
My children are in California.
And where are you living now?
I'm living in Benicia right now.
In California?
Yes.
So you're moving hundreds of miles away from your children?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I chose her over my kids. Stupid, huh? She gave me the choice.
Listen to me.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody makes you make that choice, sir.
You're right.
Nobody makes you make that choice.
Biggest one I made.
Okay. Now, he does not have your necklace. He does not have your passport. He has your computer, which he's going to use. Do you understand?
Yes.
The house is in your name.
Yes.
Did you get a deposit for $15,000 from his family for the house?
It was $12,000, yes.
So you did. Did you pay them back?
I did.
When?
I borrowed $12,000 for the first house that I bought. When I sold that house and made some money, I paid them back after I sold the first house.
What about a down payment on this house?
I bought it with $0 down.
With $0 down?
Yes. The money was to put in the bank to show that I can make the payment.
And where did you get that money from?
I borrowed it from my sister and from his mother.
From his mother?
Yes.
Did you give it back to her?
I did. Yes, I did.
Did she give it back to your mother?
I don't know.
You were there.
Okay, fine. Okay. You get your computer back, and I believe that you're entitled for money for the car because I believe that you made a substantial payment on the car. He's going to take your name off the title. He says he's already taken care of that. But I believe you when you say you took out a home equity line of credit, and from that you paid off the Montero, so I'm giving you a judgment for $5,000, unless you want to turn the car over to her. What's your pleasure?
I'll keep the car.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Paxton Durlow is suing tattoo artist Breezy Barrett for breach of contract on the bartering of a vehicle. Paxton says Breezy was supposed to tattoo him in exchange for a truck.
Mr. Durlow, you traded your truck for services to be performed by the defendant, who's a tattoo artist. She paid some in cash for the truck, is that right?
Correct.
And the remainder was to be worked off in this barter arrangement. Is that right?
There was also a bike included in the deal as well.
That you got?
Yes, correct.
Your claim is that Miss Barrett did half of the tattoo and then modified the agreement that you had to complete the tattoo by telling you that you could only come for your appointments between 9 and 12 at a time when you work, therefore requiring that you go to somebody else to have the tattoo finished.
Correct.
That's what you want to pay for, plus some harassment nonsense. Everybody's been harassed. You know who's most harassed here?
You.
And Miss Barrett says that you caused her to lose business because what you did was you kept canceling appointments. And in addition to that, you sexually harassed her. So she's counterclaiming. When did you make this deal with the truck?
I'm not exact on the dates at all. I mean, I have the contract, I guess, in here. So
okay, so let me have the contract, please. Okay, so the sales agreement requires that the tattoo is to be completed in 2-hour sessions, no more than 3 weeks apart, unless otherwise agreed to by the parties, and that's dated 7/21/06, correct?
Correct. Yes.
When did you start the tattoo?
I was already in the middle of tattoos. This deal came on after I was already getting work from her.
So when you were supposed to start it in 2-hour sessions, according to the agreement?
Yes, that would have been starting that date.
So? What happened?
Well, the appointments were going well. Then I would get an occasional push. She would ask me if I could come in on a different day because there was a person that absolutely had to have that appointment. And it was a way for her to make money and that she was a sole provider for her home. So I agreed. And then it became redundant. And then
what?
I didn't agree any further. It started getting to where I couldn't get anything done.
Did you ever cancel appointments yourself?
The last time that I had an appointment to go to was one I canceled.
How many times did she change your appointment?
I believe 4 times, maybe even more.
And it was always because she had a paying customer?
A paying customer or something came up. She did have a mother who was terminally ill, which I fully understood. And she also changed appointments there too, which I did not consider in the claim.
Okay. When did she tell you about this business of only coming in the morning?
After a discussion of me not getting anything done, the whole conversation was via text, and I have it, if you'd like
I'd like to see it.
Would you like to see pictures of the truck as well?
No.
Okay.
Not necessary. Oh, well, here's your problem. Breezy, you're Breezy, right?
Yes.
Here's your problem. It is clear to me that the two of you have a dispute in these text messages with regard to whose fault it was, etc. You know, clearly you were not yourself as a result of your mother's illness, because that's clear from these emails, and that there were certain stresses in your life. But when you say to him, in the future, you shouldn't off your artist until after the work is done, would be enough for me to say that you breached this contract and I wouldn't let you do any work on me. That's a threat. I mean, I don't know anything about tattoos except that I've seen them. They're done with needles, right? Correct. I wouldn't let anybody near me with a needle who said to me I wouldn't take any action until after it was all done and I was happy. You want to say anything to me?
I would love to.
Go ahead.
After 6 months of tattooing on him, I canceled 2 appointments.
Well, that's too many.
One being I'm a sole provider of my children. I only work 5 hours a day because I have preschool pickup, drop off, daycare closes.
Whatever. Listen,
Okay.
he's not your mother. He's not your
No,
sister.
he's
He's
not.
not your brother.
He was a
you
friend.
Just a second. You canceled 2 appointments. Not tragic.
My second appointment I canceled was because his appointment was 2 days after my mother died.
You canceled the 2 appointments.
He called and made 4 appointments, 2 weeks, 2 hours back to back. No showed on every one of them. I only work 5 hours a day.
Show
you know
me.
show.
Show
It's
me.
right
He
here.
says that that's not true.
Right here.
It's in pencil, Your Honor.
It doesn't matter if it's in pencil.
Let me take a look at it.
That's my appointment book. Here's my apprentice who helps make all my appointments.
Do you remember independently making these appointments?
She wasn't there at that time.
Just a second. Just answer my question. Do you remember independently making these appointments? Yes or no?
During that point in time.
Just answer my question. Fine. Thank you. I want you to give me the date of the first appointment. Would you give that book back to her, please? Give me the date of the first appointment you say he missed.
Monday, January 15th.
What was the next one?
1/19/07.
Well, that's not 2 weeks apart.
No, he called after no showing and said, sorry, can you get me in? So I did. I slid him in.
Okay, well, that's not 2 weeks apart. First, you told me he made appointments 2 weeks apart over a month and didn't appear. So now it's 1/15/07.
Okay.
Then you Then you said he called you and said, I'm sorry, could you fit me in? You made it for 1/19/07, and then you say he didn't show up.
Then he had February 4th.
Go ahead.
Then he had February 16th.
Can you show me, Ms. Berendt, anywhere in these text messages where you say that he missed appointments on the 15th, the 19th, or February 4th, which is why you decided to change the rule, because you have a lot of emails going back and forth, a lot of bad language going back and well, from your end. But there isn't, according to what I see here, one place where you wrote in your email that he missed appointments on January 15th, January 19th, or February 4th. And all of these text messages were written on February 6th. Not one place do you talk about 3 missed appointments.
Those are his text messages.
Show me yours.
That phone was dropped in the toilet.
No.
But he could easily have left off the first 4 emails for you.
He could have. And your phone maybe could have been dried off from the toilet. You have to take care of the rest of his tattoo. That was your contract with him.
I never had a problem with that.
That was your contract. How much will it cost to finish the tattoo?
It's an estimate because, I mean...
How much is the estimate?
I have it right here if you'd like to see it. He believes it to be between $1,440 and $1,800.
Can I see, please?
It depends on the work.
Where is it? Is it on your arm?
It's on both arms. And
got it.
There's not more than $600 left there.
Well, then you should have done it yourself.
I would love to.
Well, you can't because you threatened him. Okay. Now, you also don't mention anywhere the sexual harassment that you talk about. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, the entire time I worked on him, it was fondling me, grabbing on me. I leave my life for you the whole time. That's why she's
good.
here.
Okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. The counterclaims dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Alicia Blanchard claims ex-boyfriend Fred Bray borrowed a large sum of money from her and never paid it back.
Miss Blanchard, the defendant used to be your boyfriend, and you claim a series of loans to him while he was out of work in the amount of $4,200. Mr. Bray says that you didn't make any loans to him. Taking out loans, you and your brother, you were pretty flush with cash, and you gave him a couple of $100s when he needed it, but that was about it. So, when did he become your boyfriend?
In September.
Of what year?
06.
Could you keep your voice up? I'm getting old. And when did you make the first loan to him?
September 20th of 06.
So as soon as you met him, he needed money?
Yes.
How old are you?
21.
And where do you live?
In Marysville, California.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents.
Do you work?
Currently, I don't.
How do you support yourself?
My mother gives me money for gas to look for work, and that's it.
Who were you working for in September of 2006?
Singular Wireless cell phone company.
What were you doing for them?
I was a customer service rep.
For how long?
For 7 months.
What were you earning?
Around $2,000 a month.
Did you file tax returns last year?
Yes.
How much did you earn?
$11,000.
Where did you get $42 to $100 to lend to him?
From loan companies.
Show me.
Hey.
What are these check cashing things?
Those are payday advance companies. You go in and you write a check, and on your next payday, you pay them back.
Were you living at home when you were doing all of this stupidity?
Yes.
Well, tell me all about it. I'm really curious. All in September 29th, October 2nd. So days after meeting him, you started giving him money, according to you.
Correct.
Yeah, and?
He actually worked as a loan agent when I had first met him. About a month after I'd met him, he had told me that he resigned from his job. He had told me he liked money coming in from different directions, that he wanted to borrow $200 in the beginning for a business license so he could help promote a rap group. He would help pay me back once he would receive that money. For help promoting those groups.
And what if he didn't receive the money for helping to promote the groups?
He told me that was a for sure thing.
But nothing's for sure. Maybe he didn't get any money.
He told me it was a for sure.
How many different times do you claim that you gave him money?
10 different occasions.
10?
Yes.
And you're telling me that you never used any of this money yourself?
I did.
You did. That's what I thought. How much of the money that you took out in loans did you use yourself?
About $1,900.
Let's say $2,000. How much did you take out altogether?
Altogether around $5,000.
Altogether $5,000. You used $2,000 for yourself, which leaves $3,000 that you say you gave to him.
I used that money to pay back loans. I pulled out
other
loans? The loans that I had pulled out, I used that money to pay them. I would pull out a loan and then I would pay it back by pulling out another loan.
What I asked you, Miss Blanchard, was how much money of this money that you took out did you use for yourself?
About $900.
Well, first you told me it was $1,900.
That was the total of the money that I had used, but part of it was to pay back the loans, about $1,000. Around $1,000 was for myself.
And what did you do with the $1,000 that you took out yourself?
I was using it for gas and to live off of.
How do I know what you kept for yourself, to use for yourself? Who are you, the brother?
Yes, I am.
How much you gave to your brother of the loans you took out? Because you gave some money to him. We know that, right?
No, that didn't happen.
Yeah, sure you did. You took out some, you gave some to yourself, you gave some to him, and I think you gave him some. And you figured it would never catch up with you.
No, that's not what happened. My brother got $100, if that.
Well, so now you gave him $100. He says you gave him nothing. Is he lying?
No. He's not lying.
Well, he just said you gave him nothing.
I didn't.
I'm speaking. Is your sister lying?
No, she is not.
So she gave you money?
Not handed, but more like buying clothes, products.
With the money she borrowed?
Yeah, she has to pull out loans.
You acted like a big baby with the loans. That's what you did.
I thought I was going to help him.
You also helped yourself and you helped him. And now you want him to pay for the whole thing.
I don't want him to pay for anything, just what's rightfully owed to me.
Well, there's no way of telling that, madam. How am I going to tell that? You kept no records. There's no question in my mind, based upon what you finally told me, that you used some of the money yourself.
The defendant made sure every time that I met him that I was by myself and that I had gave him cash. He did that purposely so that there was no records kept. He knew what he was doing. He was a loan officer.
Listen to me, madam. All you have to do is give him a check.
He told me he didn't want a check.
I don't care what he said he wanted. All you had to do was give him a check. All you had to do was give him a money order. But what happened was you took out all of these loans, some money you spent on yourself, clothes, gas, eating out. Some money you spent on your brother, clothes, according to him, no records. So how do you expect me to figure out what it is that you gave to him when you don't know? Now, see, I'm finished with her. Now I'm going to start with you.
All right.
Let's start out with this. How old are you, sir?
28.
Have you been married?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
Have children?
Yes.
How many?
One.
That child
point for the red team.